your body, the teacher or the lecturers, you remain there. If you are firm, women who are firm in the character rise very slowly, or sometimes they never rise. This is an omission that came in the sexual offences bill. I think it should have been there. It was a serious omission. We have seen it, even Our Lady athletes. We have seen them even being killed by people who come in as their coaches, and then they are friends, and then eventually they are husbands, and just because of their money, that's why they get into this problem. So this is across, much as Dr. Makali says it happens to boys, it is more challenging in women. To make it to any end, you have to give yourself to men for sex. So this has come in time because we have to keep on amending the laws as the country evolves, as the country moves on, because these are new things that are coming up. Maybe some of these things were never discussed. You'd never say why you never got a promotion. You never say why you didn't get your grade. You never say why we are not even selected into a certain team. So, Madam Speaker, I support the petition.
Thank you. Honorable Atandi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and to support the petition which has been presented by the Honorable Passaris. Madam Speaker, I've met many women whose careers have been messed up because their bosses wanted to have sex with them and they said no. Also, I've met many other women who actually went through interviews successfully, but before they could be given employment letters, their bosses wanted to have sex with them. So, Madam Speaker, this issue is really very serious. And I wish this Parliament would take this matter very seriously and ensure that sexology law is enacted here so that we can protect women who are being exploited by these sex perverts. Madam Speaker, this thing happens every day and in our midst. Madam Speaker, sex is very good. And, you know, all of us are consumers of sex. And the best sex, Madam Speaker, is consensual. But I wanted to define sexology and say that this is a case where
Honorable Donya, what is out of order? Hold on, Honorable Atandi.
Is the Honorable in order when he's saying that all of us are consumers of sex, when we know well there is the act of celibacy from the Catholic Church? Don't generalize, Honorable Atandi. You will make the nuns, the bishops from the... Being a Catholic, as much as I'm not a nun, I chose the family way because I'm a consumer of that sex that you have said.
Honorable Doja, you will have your chance to debate. I think Honorable Atandi refer to this house. I don't see any nun, I don't see any father in this house.
Thank you.
Honorable Atandi, you have 2 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was saying that all the members in the house here are consumers of sex. Yeah, and my point, Madam Speaker, my point is that that sex should not be a basis.
Honorable Millie, you are on record in this house having confirmed you love sex. So you cannot be out of order. Honorable Atandi, let's hear Honorable Millie. Let us hear Honorable Millie for a minute. What is out of order?
Chair, really, Honorable Atandi is out of order. Even though I'm on record having said before that I love sex. That was when I was younger. You heard Honorable Ichungwa saying yesterday that I'm the new of the house, meaning I am older. I am menopausal. We are suffering masturbation.
Honorable Millie, You must not defy science. Even menopausal women still have sex. Go on, Honorable Atandi.
Madam Speaker, let me conclude. Let me conclude by saying that, Madam Speaker, sex should not be the reason why a professional would lose their career because they refuse to give somebody sex. So, Madam Speaker, let us, as a House, create this law so that we can protect Kenyans. I also wanted to add, Madam Speaker, that it has become normal that a lot of women try to avail themselves so that they are used for sex so that they can benefit from certain services. Again, this is not something which should be right. I want to urge women across the world that you should never even you ask somebody to pay you for sex. Madam Speaker, we even need a law against people asking for money to provide sex. Madam Speaker, I've had homes where wives are refusing to give sex because their husbands did not give them materials. Madam Speaker, sex should be given free of charge, Madam Speaker, and I think if there can be a law like that, I would really want to support. Thank you.
Honorable Mayaka, kindly restrict yourself to the petition.
Honorable Speaker, are you gagging me in advance? Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. And first of all, I'd just like to join Honorable Elachi in welcoming our leaders from the university who are here and to acknowledge their presence and to thank the Honorable Passaris for bringing this very important petition to the House. Honorable Speaker, you know the word that they actually use out there when they're engaging in sextortion is they ask women and girls for the cookie. That is the new word they use. That give away the cookie so that you can get water and all these other things. And we really, really need to speak to our girls and speak to our women, even as we seek to bring sufficient laws to ensure that this issue is dealt with. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that women really face as a challenge is lack of water. And even as we are discussing this issue, we also need to get to the nitty-gritty of what the problem is. Because we have been given a declaration by the World Health Organization and World Bank that we ought to have water within 500 meters radius of every homestead. And that is not something that we have in this country. And so women and young girls go through this. They're not even able to report. Some of them even go to their mothers and tell them that they're experiencing this. But because of the shame and the stigma that is associated with it, they hide these particular situations. And I also want to agree with Honorable Elachi when she says that we actually need an omnibus law in all the acts that we have, the Employment Act, the Labor Act, all the vital acts, so that this issue is actually dealt with to the root of it, and including also the penal code. And Honorable Speaker, when you hear situations such like the issue that is happening in Kibra about exchanging sex for water, that is an issue that actually needs to be taken into serious consideration, because it might take us a long time to have these laws in place because of the procedures we have in Parliament, but we also just need to identify the key areas that are really being affected by this and seek to have a and also just encourage the Petitions Committee to deal with this issue as urgently as they can, because it is a matter of grave urgency. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to make my comments on this, that I support the petition on amendment of the Penal Code to provide for the offense of sextortion. Madam Speaker, you remember the incident that happened in Kericho, where people to be employed, that they had to provide sex for you to be able to be employed. We've even seen in our own institutions where we have sexually transmitted results, where students have to give even sex to their tutors or to their lecturers so that they can be able to pass. I think this should be criminalized, and we should be able to make it an offense for somebody to ask for sex. And I think it is demeaning even to our women, when somebody looks at you and asks for sex, to be able to provide you with a certain service or a certain favor. I think this is very bad. Honorable Speaker, I even saw the other day, there are things that comes into sexual offenses. I saw the other day the Speaker of the County of Nairobi forcing a Muslim lady to greet him and hug him. And I think that is that's a very serious sexual offense, and I hope that character should be dealt with by the law to make it an example for others. So with those few remarks, I want to support it.
Dr. Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to make comments also on this important petition. I would like to congratulate the Honorable Passaris for the boldness to bring this petition on sextortion. This is a matter, Madam Speaker, that is being talked about world over, and non-governmental organizations have put in money to try to protect women, especially young girls and people living with disabilities, but bringing it to the House is very important. Madam Speaker, sextortion is happening to powerful women and women who are not powerful. It is happening to women who are rich, more so women who are rich, and also women who are poor. It is happening face-to-face, and it is also happening online. So when the Committee on Petitions looks at it, they require to receive as much information as possible so that we do not focus on what is happening face-to-face, but we also focus on online. Madam Speaker, ignoring this matter is going to make the perpetrators bolder, especially when they know that there is lacuna in law. So it is important that it is done soon as possible. As I finish, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Honorable Mbai's Petitions Committee to invite subject matter experts in this one. They may decide to choose to call them, because if they just advertise, they may not get people who understand sextortion as it should be. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Finally on this, Major Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank the Honorable Member for bringing this petition. Honorable Speaker, this issue is actually widespread, and it's happening every day and happens in every place. Sometimes even happening in places where somebody don't even think it's going to happen. It's rather unfortunate. It dehumanizes the women. Remember, the women are our mothers, our wives, our daughters. And sometimes they don't even report because of the stigma that goes on with these kind of things. Honorable Speaker, 2 days ago, we witnessed in public glare a senior public official by the name the Speaker of Nairobi County, as has been mentioned earlier, involving in the same act against a member of the County Assembly of Nairobi. Now, if that can be done in the glare of the camera and in the public, what happens in the darkness? It's rather unfortunate. And I want to use this opportunity to call out on the Speaker of Nairobi County to actually resign, or the County Assembly members to impeach him, so that is a lesson to other members who are holding public offices. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Finally, Honorable Karoli.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Wait, Honorable Karoli. Honorable Gekaria, what is out of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether there is a problem with the technical aspect of these things, because I came, I put my card, I put the intervention as directed.
I can confirm, Honorable Gekaria, even now I don't have you on my screen.
Yes, and it is still there and blinking. I don't know what is the problem. That maybe
I do not have
fix.
you on either the contribution button or
Honorable
intervention.
Major Bashir can confirm, and he has just come and mine was on.
Let IT check it out. Honorable Karoli,
Okay.
kindly go on.
So I take this one. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this important petition. I think it is important that we appreciate that sextortion affects both gender, but women more particularly, because there are also instances where men are victims. And we need to distinguish or understand what sextortion is, how sextortion is different from other sexual offenses such as rape and sexual harassment. I think the most important thing here is the understanding of what consent and acquiescence is. In the other cases, there's absolutely no consent, but in sextortion, there appears to be consent, but there's actually no consent, because the victim, whether male or female, is actually given what in mafia terminology is called an offer they can't refuse. You are presented with a set of facts or circumstances that forces them in exchange for services to pay by way of sex. And we have had very bad experiences in this country for sex for grades, sex for rides, sex for water, sex for fish, sex for relief food, sex for school fees, even sex for holy blessings in churches, and sex for jobs and promotions, and even worse, sex for political favors. I think, Madam Speaker, since there is no national policy on this issue, and it is so widespread, and it is affecting quite a large number of people, we need to make an urgent intervention and insert a particular clause on this, make criminalize sextortion in the penal code. It is also important, one minute, my sister.
Do you want to be informed by Honorable Mili?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to inform the Honorable Member that if you look at Section 23 and 24 of the Sexual Offences Act, there are incidents of that are covered, except it doesn't cover all incidents of sextortion. The terminology may be different, and I just want to congratulate Honorable Esther. And in terms of where it should be homed, probably they would want to think of the Sexual Offences Act, because it's an offense that relates to sex.
Thank you for that information.
Honorable Karoli, conclude.
Honorable Mili. But I think we need to criminalize both sextortion, but also make it a tort, so that the victims can also get civil compensation when they've been sexually assaulted by these predators that we have in society. Otherwise, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
The time for that petition is up. The petition will stand committed to the Public Petitions Committee. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Deputy Leader of Deputy Whip, Majority Whip.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, April 17, 2024, morning sitting. Number 1, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme for the years ended 30th June 2021, 30th June 2022, and 30th June 2023, and the certificates therein. Number 2, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of National Cereals and Produce Board Car Loan Fund for the years ended 30th June 2022 and 30th June 2023, and the certificates therein. Number 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of the Consolidated Bank of Kenya for the year ended 31st December 2023. Number 4, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of the year ended 30th June 2023 in respect of A, Water Services Regulatory Board, B, National Environment Tribunal, C, Development Bank of Kenya Limited, D, Kenya National Commission for UNESCO, E, Kenya National Innovation Agency, F, Tourism Research Institute, G, Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institute, H, Kipchagbo Tea Factory, I, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, J, Mosoriot Teachers Training College, K, Laikipia University, L, National Employment Authority, M, Golf Hotel Limited, N, Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, O, Tea Board of Kenya, P, Kenya Roads Board Fund, Q, Moi University, and R, Institute of Human Resource Management. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Wako. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Member for Matungu, you're listed here to have a motion, notice of a motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. Adjournment of the House pursuant to Standing Order number 33A to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the surge of road accidents in the country. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 33(1), I rise to seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the surge of road accidents in the country. Madam Speaker, the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, recently released a report providing statistical data on the current road safety situation of the country. According to the report, 7,198 Kenyans have been involved in road accidents within the last 3 months of this year, 2024, making a significant rise of accidents compared to the same period last year. It is disheartening that at least 1,198 lives were tragically lost in the accidents. Madam Speaker, these statistics highlight the troubling state of road safety in the country and which require urgent intervention. While acknowledging efforts by the Ministry of Transport in the last few days, much more is needed to be done, including full implementation of traffic laws and policies to ensure road safety. Madam Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of great national concern with a view of exploring possible and lasting solutions. I beg to give notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nabulindo. I will appoint Honorable Nabulindo, do you have the support for the adjournment motion? How many?
Yes.
Thank you, honorable members. Take your seats. Honorable Nabulindo, your motion will be slotted for 12 noon or at the completion of order number 9, whichever comes first. Yes. We will do order number 9. If it is not over by 12, the House will rise for your adjournment motion. But if it is over by earlier than that, again, you'll have more time for your adjournment motion. That is clear? Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable Doris, you have a question?
Oh, I have a question to ESCC, the ESCC Commission. I want it to state the criteria used by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to undertake the ongoing interviewing of staff of Kisii County government that seeks to authenticate their academic certificates. They should also explain why only junior officers' certificates are being scrutinized, leaving behind the senior officers, such as the County Executive Committee members and the chief officers. In addition, they should also consider restarting the entire exercise by commencing with the topmost positions in the county executive, including all elected leaders in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a question to an independent commission to be replied before the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. Honorable Doris, you have another statement.
I have a request for a statement regarding random killings in Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 4.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding random killings and raising insecurity cases in Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, Article 26 of the Constitution provides for the rights of every person to life. Additionally, Article 27 provides that every person has the right to freedom and security. These rights are inalienable to every citizen, regardless of age, status in life, or locality. Sadly, there have been cases of insecurity and killings in Kisii County over the last few months. For instance, on 2nd of March 2024, one Mr. Lucas Nyang'ao Miruka Umbui of ID number 7302757 was found dead at Nyabiore Market, Magenche Ward, Bomachoge Borab constituency in Kisii County. Within the same locality, Mr. Obure Makabe was also found dead under unclear circumstances around the same time. Also, Duke Nyabaro was found, his body was found around Bonchari area. Sadly, police response has been slow and unreliable owing to, among other things, lack of police vehicle at Nyabiore polling station. Additionally, the number of officers deployed to these areas has been inadequate to decisively deal with the ever-rising insecurity cases. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee, Administration and Internal Security on the following. Could the chairperson enumerate any peace operation measures taken by the government in Bomachoge Borabo constituency, particularly in Magenche Ward? What measures is the government taking to provide a police vehicle at Nyabiore police station to ensure improved response to cases of insecurity? And could the chairperson provide a report on the number of people arrested and arraigned in court over the recent attacks in Obure Market and Nyabiore centers? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Doris. That again goes to the Committee of Administration and Internal Security. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, providing a safety net for caregivers of persons with severe disabilities. Resumption of debate.
This motion by Honorable Dorothy Kiara has a balance of 31 minutes. Honorable Catherine Omanyo was on the floor, has a balance of 8 minutes if she is in the House. If not, we will continue with the debate. I need to be guided. Honorable Abdul Haro, are you intending to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for granting me this opportunity to make my contribution to this important motion by Honorable Dorothy Kiara, a motion on providing a safety net for caregivers of persons with severe disabilities. Honorable Speaker, I will, from the onset, I'll draw the House to the prayers of this motion, that this House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, recognizes primary caregivers of persons with severe disability as a distinct category requiring social protection and support, and further develops and implements a cash transfer program for these primary caregivers. This is why this motion is very important. Honorable Speaker, persons living with disability make a significant population globally. We are told, according to statistics, about 10% of the world, or slightly over 1 billion people, live with disability. In this country, 2.2% of Kenyans, or slightly more than 1 million people, are people who live with disability. And these are a significant number of people who require care and who require support from their friends, families, and also the network of support that is available. Honorable Speaker, this question around disability is a very sensitive question, and you know anybody can be revisited, or rather can be visited by disability at any stage in their life. A child can be born disabled, or somebody can get disability while in line of duty. For example, a soldier who is in the military, or a police officer who is serving in the force can get injured or can get amputated and have that disability. So, Honorable Speaker, persons can suffer stroke and get severe disability. You can have critical illness like cancer, which can lead to severe disability. Therefore, this question of disability is not a question that you think belongs to certain category of people. It is something, it's an illness, it's a condition that can visit anybody at any time in their lives. And these people, given the significant number of them, and given that they can, anybody can suffer disability at any point in their lives, they require caregivers or a network of support all the time. And especially if you have a child who is disabled, it is like a full-time job for the person, whether a parent, a mother, a relative, or a father, or even a brother or a sister. Anybody taking care of a child who has disability is a full-time job. And there are a lot of challenges that these people go through, including physical challenges, emotional challenges, and even financial challenges. These people even sacrifice their personal lives. You know, they cannot socialize with other people, especially when they have full-time job of taking care of a sick person, a child, a relative, or a friend. And that is why I fully support this motion by Honorable Kiara, so that these persons who are actually caregivers caregivers of people with severe disabilities are treated as a distinct category requiring special protection and support, and further the government further develops and implements a cash transfer program for the primary caregivers so that they can take care of those challenges that they are going through every day, including those emotional challenges and economic and financial challenges. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Honorable Makali Mulu. Kindly indicate on the intervention if you're intending to speak on this. Honorable Roko, are you speaking on this?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And note, if you had spoken, you don't speak again.
No, I have not spoken on this. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise, first of all, to thank Honorable Dorothy Kiera for this well-thought motion. It's extremely important to provide safety net for caregivers for persons with severe disabilities, as well as I wish the Honorable Kiera and even the elderly, because in our societies, in our communities where we come from, we have quite a number of people who are facing severe disabilities, and they need support on a day-to-day basis. It is a community which sometimes seem to be forgotten, especially by the family members who are not in a position to support them because of the levels of poverty, and bearing in mind the cost which comes with supporting such kind of cases on a day-to-day basis. These brothers and sisters who are in this condition, they require on a day-to-day basis adult diapers. They also require on a day-to-day basis nurses, and this comes up with a huge cost for the family. I think the government, through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, should establish a section where not only will take care of people with disabilities, with severe disabilities, but also those who are elderly and those who cannot be able to move from one point to the other. We have seen, in most cases, some of these people with severe disabilities and elderly, they suffer even bent sores, which are extremely difficult to be treated. And not only to be treated, but also the facilities to treat such kind of cases in our dispensaries is not there. At the moment, Honorable Speaker, I have several cases in my constituency which requires critical attention. I think this motion, Madam Speaker, is well thought, and I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mizigi? Not on this.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I contributed to this the
You
other
read
time.
it?
Yes.
Okay. Honorable Member for Isiolo South, is your intention on this?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I want to also add my voice on the same. The issue of people who have problems, mental problems, are everywhere. And we need in every hospital. Nowadays, there is a lot of problems all over. Issues like cancer. Cancer is a big menace in most of the areas in our country. Mostly in the northern parts of the country, there is a lot of problems, a lot of patients, a lot of communities are suffering from that problem, and they are reduced to bed, and they cannot move anywhere. And we need to have to be very mindful about what we have when it comes to these people who have problems, physical fitness, lack of physical fitness, and all this. So I support the motion. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Member for Bureti.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. With concern to this motion, I want to join in putting my voice in support of the motion for provision of safety net for families and persons living with severe disabilities. One of the biggest concerns that we have within a section of our population is how to be able to take care of individuals or persons who are living with severe disabilities. In families that have such persons, they are unable to work, making provisions even more difficult for these families. Their engagement in economic activities becomes so difficult during the times that they need to take care of such persons. The dignity of even such persons, Madam Speaker, becomes apparently that they need help to be able to take care of such persons clinically, physically, the presence, and everything else. If you even find, Madam Speaker, families that such persons come from poor families, it becomes double tragedy for such families now that, one, they are unable to work, two, they have to provide services and activities to take care of these people so that they may be able to give dignity to these members of families. Number two, Madam Speaker, these individuals should be known. So through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, we can be able to enumerate them. After enumerating them, we can be able to see what we can be able to do as a nation or as communities to be able to make these communities and these households have a better living. I'm envisaging a situation where we can include them in the Inua Jamii program so that they can be able to receive stipend, perhaps even for hygienic things like diapers or assisting devices like wheelchairs and such kind of devices that may be able to help them in mobility and in also making sure that they are able to be protected. Number two, Madam Speaker, is to be able to provide them with the medical covers. The envisaged social health and insurance scheme that the country is rolling out in 1st July. We should be able to enumerate such individuals and such households and make them receive from government and from the health institutions around. Together with the county governments, we can be able to enlist them, make provisions for them, provide insurance for them, such that in times of need, they will be able to access services and be able to be provided with a safety net. Madam Speaker, thirdly, the issue would also be expanded to include the elderly or those who have come into these conditions due to accidents or incidences that have happened in their life causing disabilities, for even people who are not disabled initially or who are not born with these disabilities. With this, a section of our community and members and households will be able to live with dignity and their lives improved when we provide this safety net. I support, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to speak on this motion. Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and I think the most critical thing in these people with severe disability are the caregivers. These are the people, sometimes they spend most of their time looking after these children or people with severe disability, and they need serious support so that the other activities that are involved in family affairs and other things are not stalled. And Madam Speaker, what baffles me is that sometimes the way they channel this support to these people is very skewed. And I believe it can move from the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, because this is an agency that is established under law to take care of people with disability. And I'm sure they can do a proper survey and they can identify children or people with severe disability and disperse these funds to them in a proper way. The other thing, Madam Speaker, is that you find that even the way they and ask how many people are receiving this cash transfer, and you find that the statistics are not even properly given out. I asked the former PS Marwa, when he was still in the ministry, and Madam Speaker, he named some people. When I went to my constituents, I could not identify any of those people. So sometimes even the way the money is channeled is not proper, but it is a good program, but it just needs to be structured properly so that people, the benefit goes direct to these people. And I also hope that they can even increase the amount from what they are being given so that it caters for much more of their needs. Madam Speaker, this is something that is very, very critical and essential, and I hope that this cash transfer, they should identify all people with severe disability, and all of them should benefit, not just a few, because when you look at the numbers, they are very negligible. And the government can afford, Madam Speaker, to give care, to give support to all these caregivers and people with severe disability. And Madam Speaker, I support and I just urge that these can be properly structured and can benefit more people, especially in the rural areas and in this informal settlement where most of these people have experienced hardship and they don't have access to even to devices that support them, Madam Speaker. You find that some are in need of things like diapers and maybe some specialized wheelchair. And this is sometimes not reachable. And so that if we support the National Council for Persons with Disability, Madam Speaker, with more funding, I think they can provide support, better support to these people. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to speak on this. I support.
Thank you. Member for Kericho.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the motion by Honorable, my sister, who has done extremely well to remember caregivers of persons with severe disabilities. Honorable Speaker, in this country, the Constitution is very clear that everybody has a right to live, and persons living with disability have their right in this country. However, they may not be able to do so much on their own, and especially those with severe disabilities. And for this, Honorable Speaker, they need support from family, they need support from relatives, and these caregivers spend a lot of time with these persons with severe disabilities, and they may not have time of their own. And when I remember this, Honorable Speaker, I remember of the children with disabilities. Some of their parents keep these children in secluded places because of stigma. They don't come out because of the many reasons that they are looked down upon. And this one affects mainly people of low income. And for this matter, the caregivers need to be supported by the government through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to be given stipend so that they'll be able to support themselves and support these persons with severe disabilities. Honorable Speaker, the persons living with severe disabilities need devices. In Kericho County, the demand for these devices is very high. And as County MP, the allocation from GAF is not enough to provide all these a lot of devices to the many needs. And therefore, when this stipend is given to these, the caregivers, it will at least lighten the burden for them. Honorable Speaker, the persons living with disabilities, some of them need diapers, they need a clean environment, and for that, some even need medication. For that, they need to be supported. And something that is also, that should be clear is that some of these persons living with disability are not registered. So for them to be supported, they need to be registered with social services so that they be assisted. And not only one, not only two, all of them needs to be supported. And Honorable Speaker, when we talk of caregivers, these are mainly women, and especially when they have these children. So I really feel they need to be given a stipend. And this, Honorable Speaker, persons living with disability, some of them is not natural. It could be out of accident, so it is secondary. And therefore, if it was not something planned, and the government, through this Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, should actually be used to assist them, not forgetting the insurance cover for the same. I therefore support this motion very, very seriously. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
It is time for the mover to reply. Honorable Dorothy, you have 10 minutes. You can choose to donate some of your time and notify the Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I reply, I would wish to donate 2 minutes, 1 minute to Honorable Caroline Nyerichei.
2 minutes or 1 minute?
1 minute. And Honorable Esther Passaris, Honorable Janet, Honorable Irene. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
So
1 minute each.
Are you confirming you've donated a minute each? That is 4 minutes of your 10 minutes.
And Honorable Chair Eoth Pokose, Honorable Dr. Pokose.
5 minutes. Honorable Ngelechei, 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to join my colleague sister to support this very important motion. My addition to what my colleagues have discussed before, Honorable Speaker, is there is a very big challenge for caregivers. Remember, when there is a member in the family with a special need, it always takes the effort of the most productive member of the family. Like, for instance, if there is one kid in the family with disability, she will not be taken care of by other siblings because they are equally young. It takes the efforts of the mother or the father, who is also a bread winner for the rest of the family members. And at times, whatever is allocated to this person with disability is 2,000 shillings. If that person is using diapers, for example, that person needs food, shelter, clothing, medication. It will not even be enough, and it still will need the caregiver to add more financial muscle into that particular person. You also find that due to these people with disability, there has been strains in families and even separation.
Honorable Passaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the motion by Dorothy, Honorable Dorothy Kere. Madam Speaker, we need a holistic approach when we deal with a disability. We need a holistic approach when we deal with caregivers. We need a holistic approach when we deal with all persons with disability in this country. We need to provide resources, resources, resources. We need to make sure that the resources provide the necessary care and protection of the caregivers. Protection, I mean mental health, emotional well-being, because being a caregiver is not easy. And I really commend our honorable member for bringing this up, and I hope that the government will put resources, resources, resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sitiene.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I wish to add my voice to this motion and thank Honorable Dorothy for bringing this very critical motion. It's so important that we actually give a stipend to the caregivers because they are part of the people with disability. They support them. They actually add into the productivity of that family. And wish to also ask the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to do a complete database for all the people living with disability and their caregivers so that they can be able to actually enumerate them and support the social fabric. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support this motion.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want
Honorable Mayaka, you'll go first.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I also stand to support my sister, the Honorable Dorothy, for bringing this particular motion. And the Honorable Teneo actually just spoke my mind, because I would also really like to encourage that we do have a database of the persons with extreme disability and their caregivers. And besides that, Honorable Speaker, the reason why I really support this is because majority of the people who are caregivers, they usually leave their gainful employment to dedicate their life and time to the people that they support. And also, I'd just like to also add that besides the support they'll get from social protection, that they should also be trained on first aid, because first aid is also very important when you're dealing with the persons with disability, because anything can happen. And so I really support this motion and thank Dorothy for bringing it. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pukosa.
Mheshimiwa Madam Speaker, nataka kushukuru na kumuunga mkono hoja hili ambalo limeletwa na Mheshimiwa Dorothy Kiara kwamba wale mtoaji hudumu kwa wale walemavu ni kwamba serikali iweze pia kuwapa rupurupu ili wanapochunga wale walemavu waweze pia kuwa na kitu ambayo inawasaidia kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo service wanapeana inakuwa katika hali nzuri. Kwa hivyo nafikiri hii ni jambo mzuri, na ningependa kumwomba Mheshimiwa Dorothy sasa aitengeze iwe sheria, so that na pia ayakishe kwamba katika regulations zile zinafanywa na social protection iweze kufanywa, so that isiwe tu tumepitisha hii mswada na hawa wakose kupata hiyo marupurupu. So na tutakuunga hata ikifika wakati huo, tutakuunga mkono kuhakikisha kwamba inakuwa sheria na hawa wanahudumiwa vilivyo, so that wanapochunga wale watu ambao ni walemavu wapate pia marupurupu. Asante, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Dorothy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply. I want to first and foremost, Madam Speaker, thank Honorable Injendi, who seconded this motion, and thank all the members of this House who have immensely contributed to this motion. Honorable Speaker, this motion seeks to improve the House, resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, recognizes primary caregivers of persons with severe disabilities as a distinct category requiring social protection and support, and further develops and implements a cash transfer program for these primary caregivers. Honorable Speaker, referring to Article 21(3) of the Constitution of Kenya, it provides that all state organs have a duty to address the needs of vulnerable groups within the society. Article 43 asserts that every person has a right to social security and requires the state to provide appropriate social security to persons who are unable to support themselves and their dependents. It is on this note, Honorable Speaker, that I am seeking that the 2.2, that is 0.9 million Kenyans who live with a form of disability are supported and their caregivers supported. A critical challenge that limits the advancement of societies, particularly for the global countries like Kenya. Supporting caregivers of those with severe disability, Honorable Speaker, goes beyond individual benefits. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that this support fosters social inclusion, promotes equality, strengthens communities, and contributes to economic growth. Investing in caregiver support isn't just about kindness, it's a smart decision with far-reaching positive impacts for everyone. Madam Speaker, a country like our country where economic activities are limited, money is very scarce, it is always good to think of those who are less fortunate than us. Honorable Speaker, by supporting caregivers, we can build a stronger community with a richer social fabric, reduce the strain on public resources by preventing unnecessary institutionalization, and politically it will foster increased civic engagement, public participation enshrined in Article 10, as caregivers will now have a more bandwidth to contribute to nation building.
Honorable Speaker, I have taken the sentiments of Honorable Dr. Pokose and Honorable Kiarie MP for Dagoret South, who implored that we take this motion to the next level and have a bill. So, Honorable Speaker, when that time comes, I'll seek reference to experts so that we realize the dream of giving these caregivers a comfortable life. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I reply, and thank you to all the members. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dorothy. We shall defer the putting of the question on this motion. And we'll go to Honorable Kaluma. What is out of order?
Yeah, a point of order, Honorable Speaker. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I'm standing before you and the House under Standing Order number 131. And for clarity purposes, Honorable Speaker, permit me to read what it says. It says that where after a bill has been read a second time and before commencement of Committee of the Whole, amendments have been proposed to it, which in the opinion of the Speaker require harmonization. The Speaker may direct any member proposing an amendment to the bill to appear before the relevant departmental committee dealing with the subject matter of the bill to present his or her proposed amendments, and the committee shall submit a report to the House on the result of the exercise before the Committee of the Whole House is taken. Honorable Speaker, I'm invoking the provisions of that standing order in relevant to the next order, which is to follow. Honorable Speaker, this is with regard to the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill, National Assembly Bill number 61 of 2022, which should be proceeding to the Committee of the Whole House. And Honorable Speaker, in line with those standing order provisions, they require that if there were to be invocation of the provisions, it be done just before we move. And so, Honorable Speaker, because that is the next order, I'm so moving. Honorable Speaker, this is a bill brought by my senior sister, the Honorable Millie Grace Aoko-Odhiambo Mabona. It is a bill which has been brought before the House on a number of occasions before. Honorable Speaker, if you can look at the order paper, there are several amendments proposed to the bill. One, there are very many amendments proposed by the relevant departmental committee, which is the House Committee in charge of Health under the able leadership of Honorable Pukose. Honorable Speaker, those amendments, you will not begin from the definitional provision, clause 2, dealing with provisions. Honorable Speaker, if you look through the order paper, you will also notice from page 393, Honorable Speaker, very many amendments. And these amendments, if you look at them, Honorable Speaker, they begin from also clause 2 of the bill, and they touch on several. In fact, I can say over 90% of the provisions of this bill are being proposed to be amended by myself. And Honorable Speaker, I know it is not the stage to go into the details of those proposed amendments, but that is the reason as to why I'm moving, Honorable Speaker, that we go for winnowing so that those matters we can agree on, come back with a position which is agreed. It will save Parliament's time. Honorable Speaker, for instance, you see me proposing an amendment to the word couple. And I'm just giving this as an example. And my concern is that a word like couple is already defined in the Marriage Act and in the Constitution, but the manner in which it is being defined here, any association of people can meet the definition of a couple. And this will open, Honorable Speaker, if you look at something like that, any association of people, and by the way, it is not specific. It
Honorable
is vague.
Kaluma, don't go
So,
to the
Honorable
details
Speaker,
of the amendment.
you will note I'm simply saying that a couple is a male and female, making it constitutional. There are also, Honorable Speaker, several other amendments by other members. And those amendments, the highlight of them is that while they are keeping to the substance of the bill, they want to preserve the substance of the bill. They don't seek to kill the bill, but they seek to ensure that ultimately what this House passes is not only properly aligned to the Constitution and the other existing laws like the ones I've mentioned, but also that we do not over-elevate positions which otherwise we should be providing solutions for. Honorable Speaker, for that purpose, I am moving the House through you very humbly that because of the number of amendments, because of the depth with which they need to be considered, including those constitutional considerations, the House directs under Standing Order 131 that all members proposing amendments, including myself, approach the committee, the Departmental Committee on Health. And Honorable Speaker, that can be timed, even if it is within the week, even if it is by next week that the Honorable Speaker decides that winnowing process would have taken place. We come back with a report which would have harmonized so that those provisions we virtually agree upon, we can pass. Like I don't believe the mover will disagree with me on some of the amendments, including that one on couple, which I believe will be opening, the issue, the institution of marriage to these things we call homosexual associations or any form of associations which are abhorred by our Constitution. So I pray, very humbly, Honorable Speaker, that you direct everybody with amendments, including those members whose amendments are still under process. We go before the departmental committee with the proper it will also bring all the thoughts which are critical to this important matter to bear before we pass the law. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We have heard you, Honorable Kaluma. I will indulge the chair of the departmental committee. I will also indulge the mover of the bill. I'll start with you, Honorable Mili. Then I'll go to Honorable Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I've heard Honorable Kaluma. And in response, I just wanted to clarify certain things. When you make a statement and you leave some things hanging, people might think that there was a problem with the bill. The bill has been before this House 2 times before, and this is the 3rd time. When I first brought it on the floor of this House, there was not even one single opposing voice. It was passed overwhelmingly. And because even some members in this House are affected by assisted reproduction. There are many members who don't have children, including myself. Now, because I've been declared Adani, I'm not going to have one. But there are members here who still want to have children through assisted reproduction. And one of them who has brought amendments called Honorable Shakil Shabil has had a child through assisted reproduction. That is why it passed overwhelmingly. And for members who remember when Honorable Joyce Lay was here, she even burst crying when she was moving this bill, when she was seconding. However, when it went to Senate, because there was a member who had a portion that had on her own bill, which had nothing to do with the assisted reproduction, but had something on surrogacy, they saw the bill as being in competition. So they killed the bill, but unfortunately theirs didn't even reach here. So it was not because it was unpopular, it was because it was so popular that Senate wanted theirs to be the one that reached here first. The time, when it came again the 2nd time, in the last parliament, again it had overwhelming support. However, somebody misguided the church and said there were wrong things in the bill. And we met even with members of the church. And Honorable Jennifer Shamala
on behalf of the church, brought amendments to the bill. But the bill lapsed. And the bill that is brought here is the bill with amendments from the church. That aside, Madam Speaker, I am very willing and able normally to accommodate members. If you actually look at the Committee of Health, they have brought several amendments, which I think are excellent amendments. And I sat, and I'm not flattering the committee. They've actually brought excellent amendments, including deleting the clause that is offensive to Honorable Kaluma. They proposed a deletion. Madam Speaker, I am an experienced member of this House, especially this stage. I think you know that. You are one of the members who is also experienced in this stage. You know, most members usually run because they find this complex. And I can tell you, Madam Speaker, that usually we employ winnowing when you have almost 15, 20 members bringing amendments. In this instance, it is the committee, and as the mover, I agree with almost everything that the committee is proposing.
We have heard you.
The second one is Honorable Shakil. The third one is Honorable Rene, and agree with most of the amendments. So the only person that has issues or still wants to be considered is Honorable Kaluma. Personally, I would have encouraged that we start, and if we see that there are hiccups, then we can go for winnowing, because what we want is what is best for Kenyans who are struggling to have children.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll hear you, Honorable
Speaker.
Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I hear Honorable Kaluma in terms of requesting for winnowing. When you look at the amendments that are in the order paper, the amendments are from the committee, the amendments are from Honorable Shakil Shapir, and the amendments are from also Honorable Mayaka and Honorable Kaluma. The amendments by Honorable Mayaka and amendments by Honorable Shakil are similar to the committee amendments. And therefore, if Honorable Mayaka's amendment is carried, or Honorable Shakil's amendment is carried, then the committee drops our amendments. So we have no issues with that. Some of the amendments that have been brought by Honorable Kaluma, the committee agrees with some, and maybe one or two. So I think moving into winnowing, this assisted reproductive bill, it has actually undergone a lot of public participation, thorough public participation. We've had the Gynecology Society of Kenya, we had Mary Stops, we've had Law Reform Commission, we had Kenya Human Rights Commission, we've also had even from the university, we've had from practicing gynecologists bringing in the amendments, and even the church. So we've really listened to various amendments, and that is why the committee has brought a lot of amendments to make sure that this bill is done. Honorable Speaker, assisted reproductive health is actually being practiced in this country. And what we need is to have a law that can guide the practice. So I think I would want to implore Honorable Kaluma that let's dispense with this, allow us to dispense with this. We'll listen to you'll have to convince us during the committee of the whole House. Then there'll be where we can be able to agree and where we can be able to let the House decide on some of those amendments. Then this can be prosecuted. And since the standing order actually gives the opinion of the Speaker, I implore Honorable Speaker that your opinion you give us a go-ahead so that we can prosecute this matter. We've had winnowing of the Kenya Drugs Authority, which we allowed, and we went back, and Honorable Kaluma came in, and we were able to carry out his amendments, and we agreed with Honorable Kaluma on that one. We did not have issues because it even involved change of the title. But we also want to ask your office, Honorable Speaker, that the Kenya Drugs Authority bill be put on the order paper so that we can finish with it, because this committee has done winnowing. We've waited for it to be put on the order paper. Up to now, it has also not been put on the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pukose. Honorable Kaluma, I gave you enough time to prosecute your matter. Make it very short so that we make progress. We need to move.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you've listened to the mover of the bill, Honorable Mili, and Honorable Pukose. What they confirm to you in their statements, Honorable Speaker, is indeed the need for that winnowing. They confirm to you that they have met the other proponents and they are in agreement. To what Honorable Pukose is not telling you is that if the other proponents are in agreement, and the purpose of winnowing is that the other people proposing amendments similar to the committee should collapse them. What I'm seeking as another member, and Honorable Speaker, in some of these things, a person may appear as a member. But remember also, Honorable Speaker, we are houses of representatives. I'm being told the church has spoken. I don't know whether my church, the Catholic Church, has spoken. Yes, they are the ones. And I can confirm to you that I was speaking with my church as late as before I came to this house. They are with these amendments we are proposing. So, Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying is that it is not that we cannot transact this business, but we are saying it will save Parliament's time if we agreed and harmonized so that under the committee, and that is why this provision talks about a harmonized provision, the committee can be the single body, then bringing an amendment. And Honorable Speaker, Honorable Pukosi has confirmed to you that I'm very easy to persuade. I never operate in bad faith. When I raised the issue with the bill he's talking about, he will confirm to you, I told him on that we are in agreement, you can proceed. And Honorable Pukose, you've never had me contest it again. What I'm saying is that instead of the committee moving, another member moving, Kaluma moving, give us an opportunity with the reasonable proponent, Honorable Mili Grace Odiam, but I don't think we will disagree on things we should agree on, before the committee chaired by Pukose, so that whatever is agreed on is reported to the House as the harmonized proposals. And that way, all these many amendments will fall or will be brought singularly with the agreement of all by Honorable Pukose as the chair of the relevant departmental committee. And it will save Parliament's time. That is what I'm requesting. Even if we began, and I implore you, Honorable Speaker, because this calls to the exercise of your discretion, even if we were to proceed, you can imagine how long we are going to take Kaluma moving, Mili moving, another member moving, the committee moving. What if we agreed and came with a harmonized position in the manner Honorable Pukose is confirming? When I moved similarly before, I'm no longer in the picture on that because we have an agreed position. And that way, the House also will not be subjected to too much contestation or reading these things. Because we'll be told there was winnowing, we come and pass it. Let me end by saying, Honorable Speaker, that if you look at my amendments, I'm not objecting to assisted reproductive technology or assisted reproduction, but I want to do it in a manner that facilitates it better for those Kenyans who need it.
Okay.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. So I still urge that we go for winnowing.
We have heard you, Honorable Kaluma. Before I give the ruling on this issue, allow me to recognize from the public gallery students from the University of Nairobi, from Starehe constituency, Nairobi County. Join me in welcoming them to the House to observe the proceedings of the House. You know, we can spend all the time here, Honorable Mili, with the ping pong. I would want to hear Honorable Mayaka. Okay, I'll hear you for a minute. You have agreed? 1 minute, Honorable Mili.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I was actually very reluctant for us to move this direction, but I would be willing, if the chair of the committee agrees, on condition that we finish the winnowing this week and move next week. The reason I'm saying this, Chair, is because I happen to know that a lot of times the church is misled about this bill. And I'm requesting the church, because I'm sure they're listening, to talk to me directly. I'm also a lawyer just like Honorable Kaluma. I may not be a Catholic, but I'm also a Seventh-day Adventist. So our interest is the same. We serve the same Jesus and the same God. So if the chairman agrees of the committee to next week, I'm okay. But I'm requesting Honorable Kaluma, please, please give the church correct view. It's just people like me who are without children, who are trying to have children. I don't think the church has a problem with me having a child, honestly. You are already asking people to have 4 wives so they can have more children because you already have children. You have your children in peace, but also leave us to have our own through assisted technology.
What is out of order, Honorable Kaluma?
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Millie Odhiambo is my niece. It really pains my heart when she speaks.
You are the grandfather?
Yeah, to that thing. No, I'm not grandfather. But Honorable Speaker, I wanted to request Honorable Millie that those things that she knows are very personal to me about her situation, I get derailed emotionally when she raises them. I can assure you, Honorable Millie, I'll be the last person to stand on the way of a good thing coming from you, and this is one of them. I only want to help improve it while saving the time of Parliament. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Can you give a time? Okay, honorable members, I have heard you, I have heard the mover, consulted with the chair, and I think we are agreeable. We give you a week, because this bill has been in this house for too long, far too long. And I remember it from the 11th Parliament. The same bill was when I was in the Senate. So I hope we can get to the end of this. So 1 week, let us agree, then get the bill back to the floor. It is so directed. Honorable Kaluma.
Yeah, the standing order provisions speak to the committee reporting to the House within 1 week. Did I hear the Honorable Speaker to say that within 1 week, that report should be before the House? And Honorable Speaker, could you give additional directions to the committee so that, if possible, it can be clear to all members interested, including me, when we are appearing before the committee? Because I then imagine that by Wednesday, going by your directions, Honorable Speaker, the report should be there. So could you direct, or in what manner shall we be appearing before the committee?
The departmental committee will take lead, and the committee to actually bring the report is the departmental committee. So within a week, and we'll officially defer this order to the next it will be allotted by the House Business Committee. But the report should be done in a week. As I had directed earlier, Honorable Dr. Pukose, what is out of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Following your directive, Madam Speaker, I wanted you to direct the Honorable Kaluma, Honorable Shakir, and Honorable Mayaka that they appear before the committee on Tuesday, because the committee we have consulted my clerk and will be ready for you on Tuesday.
Honorable Pukose,
at 10 a.m.
I
Yes.
will leave that to the committee clerk to make the communication
because
when you have the venue and the time for the members to appear, like we always do. Kindly reach out. Honorable Kaluma, of course, knowing that you're the one who has moved this, I would expect that you appear.
Yes,
yeah.
Because the reason why I was saying that, Madam Speaker, is that now you've given us a week to table the report. So we would want them also, and you know tomorrow is, we'll not be able to, tomorrow we have already other scheduled meetings. Friday is a day when we are, I think we have another meeting with the Senate on
I have heard you, Honorable
doctors.
Pukose.
So we want to schedule him for Tuesday.
And I think Honorable Kaluma knows the timing. So we don't expect a no-show. We don't expect excuses. And the report should be tabled whether or not you appear, Honorable Kaluma. Yeah. It is.
now tell me when I should appear before them, including time and venue. But those are now details, not for the Speaker.
I will leave that to be handled at that point by the clerks and the committee. So we will officially defer that order and go to Honorable Nabulindo's. Like I had directed earlier, since we have exhausted and deferred that order, we will now go to your adjournment motion that you had moved earlier. You had given notice earlier, and I will request that you have 10 minutes to move, and every other member will have 5 minutes each to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the House for supporting this motion. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to Standing Order 331, I rise to seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the surge of road accidents in the country. The National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, recently released a report providing statistical data on the current road safety situation in the country. According to the report, 7,192 Kenyans have been involved in road accidents within the last 3 months of 2024, marking a significant rise of accidents compared to the same period in 2023. It is disheartening that at least 1,189 lives were tragically lost in the accidents. Madam Speaker, these statistics highlight the troubling state of road accidents in the country and which require urgent intervention. While acknowledging efforts by the Ministry of Transport in the last few days, much more is needed to be done, including full implementation of traffic laws and policies to ensure road safety. Madam Speaker, it's against this background that I seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of great national concern with a view of exploring possible and lasting solutions. Madam Speaker, it's now common knowledge in this country that since the year began, there have been numerous road accidents, and more so in the last 3 months. The accidents have so much increased on our roads to an extent that very many families have lost their loved ones. Madam Speaker, the problem is that when these accidents happen, nobody actually wants to take responsibility. We have the Ministry of Transport blaming the wananchi, motorists are blaming the police are blaming motorists, and motorists are blaming the police and the weather. Madam Speaker, it is time now that as a country, we have to think deeply and look at what is happening around and try to find long-lasting solutions to this problem that is recurring each and every season and each and every day. Even as we speak now, Madam Speaker, yesterday in Kirinyaga, there was an accident. In Nakuru, Nairobi route, there was an accident, and they are continuing every day. And every day, all we do as a country is register statistics. Madam Speaker, the biggest problem in this country that actually leads to this unfortunate instance of loss of lives in our roads is bribery on our roads by the traffic police officers. Madam Speaker, this vice of bribery on our roads is so rampant and so deeply rooted amongst Kenyans to an extent that it has been normalized as a way of life in Kenya. Madam Speaker, so many times police officers demand for bribes or make conditions necessary for bribes to be given. But at the same time, the motorists or the traffic offenders actually prepare and encourage the police on taking the bribes. In fact, in Kenya, Madam Speaker, it has been so normalized to an extent that if you are planning for a journey, you must also set aside some fund that will be used to bribe the police until the completion of your journey. What is happening right now in this country is that we have seen the ministry taking certain actions like returning the NTSA on the road, banning certain type of vehicles like the Probox and the Noahs on the roads. But what we are seeing is actually knee-jerk reactions to a situation that needs permanent solutions. These knee-jerk reactions, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, as we are used in this country, after 2 weeks, everything will go silent and everybody will forget that there was a problem on our roads and life will go on as usual. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we need tangible solutions and long-lasting solutions to the problems that occur in our roads. We must ask ourselves questions. Why do these accidents happen? Why do they happen so oftenly? Madam Speaker, as I said earlier, in this country, nobody wants to take responsibility for actions or for things that happen on our roads. For example, the police are blaming the motorists. They blame the drivers. But the drivers in Kenya, the motorists or the road users in Kenya, do not want to take any responsibility. But as you know, responsibility lies with everyone. Earlier on, when I was taking public transport to Western, Madam Speaker, via a shuttle, on reaching in Nakuru, one passenger actually rose and told the driver that the driver is moving too slowly and he has business to do in the morning and he needs to move very fast so that we can reach fast. And actually he went ahead and encouraged the driver to tamper with the speed governor. And to my shock, even other passengers actually supported him. They said this vehicle is moving too slowly. We are not going to reach on time. And consequently, the driver actually went ahead and tampered with the speed governor. And from Nakuru onwards, the vehicle was flying at a terrific speed. And by the time we reached our destination, the pedestrians, those passengers, some of them even congratulated the driver for having moved very fast as they had wanted. So therefore, the blame should not only lie on the police or NTSA or the Minister of Education or the Minister for Transport, but all Kenyans should take responsibility. Madam Speaker, we have situations in this country recently where the minister actually took action and said that NTSA should go back to the roads to implement what has been lacking or what has not been implemented by the traffic police. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, what is happening on the roads right now is even worse than before. NTSA has launched a nationwide crackdown, but they are arresting motorists and demanding for bigger bribes than even the traffic police. And in some quarters, even the motorists are saying that it's better to deal with the traffic police than to deal with the NTSA officers. Madam Speaker, we need in this country effective ways of how to reinforce the existing laws. We don't have a vacuum in laws. We have laws, traffic laws, and well documented everywhere. The problem in this country is implementation of these traffic laws. And Madam Speaker, I ask for 1 more minute to conclude. Madam Speaker, therefore, as a House, we need to talk about this issue.
1 more minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as a House and as a nation, we need to have a conversation about what is happening on our roads. Why are we losing lives every single day on our roads? Who is to blame? And what do we need to do to save ourselves from this situation? Madam Speaker, I will not go beyond there. I will give a chance to members of parliament to talk about this issue, and as a nation and as a House, let's have a conversation on how to handle this issue that is now a pandemic in the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So thank you. Every member is going to have 5 minutes. I'll start with the Honorable Abdul Haro, member for Mandera South, not in the House. The Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, member for Westlands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to speak on this adjournment motion by Mheshimiwa. Madam Speaker, the problem we are experiencing on our roads, it's not just about discipline. It's about the way the roads are designed, Madam Speaker. Our roads have no information to drivers. There are no signage to guide drivers at spots that are maybe, Madam Speaker, that can guide them that there's a steep end or there's a sharp corner or there's something happening in a particular area. Drivers drive on these roads, Madam Speaker, blindly, and sometimes when it happens, it is so quick that they may not be able to control. Madam Speaker, the other thing is about those who inspect and the vehicles. The public, especially the public service vehicles, Madam Speaker, they ought to be inspected and given, Madam Speaker, that a certificate of approval every time. But most of the time you find most of these vehicles, Madam Speaker, they outlive even their lifespan. They keep on being on the road, Madam Speaker, and yet we have NTSA inspectors who are supposed to be supervising this. I also believe that in other areas, Madam Speaker, there are cameras installed at advantage points on the roads that the police can monitor who is misbehaving on the road or who is driving recklessly so that they can deal with it. But in this country, Madam Speaker, that is not there. You find the people who go and hide somewhere in the bush, and when a vehicle is coming, you see them jumping on the road, Madam Speaker, and wave down the driver to stop, and sometimes, which is very dangerous, that even when he tries to spot, it will be dangerous, and you find, Madam Speaker, that it can easily even become a road risk, Madam Speaker. So these people should also be more professional, inform the drivers, the areas and the spots where the inspectors are, or these traffic controllers are positioned, so that it is not a way that you are hiding somewhere to capture a driver who is doing what or what. And then when we have proper information on the road, Madam Speaker, it will inform the drivers about the speed limit. It will inform them about what is ahead of them on that road, if it's a new driver driving on that road. And the last thing, Madam Speaker, that some of these public transport vehicles, you find one driver who is driving a car for more than 8 hours. He will drive that from Mombasa going all the way maybe to Western Kenya. One driver, Madam Speaker, and at times even they may fall asleep on the steering. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I also feel that most of these drivers, when they are going for inspection, they should also go for eye check. Some of them don't even see properly and go on driving on this road, Madam Speaker. So this is a responsibility that falls on all of us, all Kenyans, and then particularly the Ministry of Transport. Madam Speaker, they must take the lead in trying to control this road carnage. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and we pray that all those Kenyans who have lost their lives, Madam Speaker, we send our sincere condolences to the families, but the government must take serious responsibility. I saw the minister on TV, but it didn't seem to be to be leading properly, Madam Speaker. What Michuki did, they need to pick it from there and control our traffic on our roads. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Samuel Atandi, member for Alego Usonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute on this motion. Madam Speaker, road accidents contribute about 3,000 deaths annually. Madam Speaker, this is more than the number of Kenyans who die from cancer, malaria, and many other diseases that affect our people. Madam Speaker, to be honest, one of the main reasons why there is increasing deaths from accidents is purely human behavior. Madam Speaker, Kenyans must to change their attitude and behavior. Madam Speaker, Kenyans go drinking at night and then they just drive home. Kenyans drive under the influence of alcohol, under the influence of drugs. Madam Speaker, this is not something which any law enforcement can do. Madam Speaker, another reason why there are so many accidents in Kenya is also because of the state of our roads. Like the Honorable Ngunyi has mentioned, Madam Speaker, the way our engineers design roads, I have traveled across this world, but I don't see the way our roads are designed resembling any other developed country. Even if you go to Rwanda here, you will see the way the Rwandese have designed their roads. I am told the engineers who designed roads in Rwanda after the genocide were Kenyans. I don't know how they went to Rwanda to design better roads, and here in Kenya, they design roads that, are just reasons why accidents occur. Madam Speaker, another reason why there are so many accidents is also because of the state of our public service vehicles. Madam Speaker, public service vehicles in Kenya are not inspected. That is the truth. This organization known as NTSA is sleeping. I think NTSA is sleeping because even the Minister for Roads is also sleeping. The Cabinet Secretary for Roads is simply a noisemaker all over the place, making noise on Twitter, making noise on Facebook and everywhere, and showing us how he's living a good life. Madam Speaker, the government must decide whether they want to protect Kenyans from these accidents or not. Because we are going to call these motions here, we are going to be talking here each and every day, each and every week, and accidents will continue to happen. Madam Speaker, this organization known as NTSA is sleeping because they are not inspecting the state of public vehicles. Madam Speaker, if you saw the accidents that have happened involving public vehicles, very unfortunate, very unfortunate. Even when you ask for a report of these accidents, you'll never get. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, it is the innocent Kenyans who suffer from these accidents. Passengers, people leave their houses, they want to go to travel to places, they are innocent. All they want is to reach their destination. They arrive in bus stations, they find vehicles there waiting for them to be used. They go into the vehicles innocently. Kumbe, they are going into death traps. Madam Speaker, I want to call on the Cabinet Secretary for Roads. When Murkomen was hired as Minister for Roads, I celebrated. I said, this is going to be one of the most competent ministers we are going to have, because Murkomen is somebody that was a very active member of Parliament. but he's sleeping on the job. Yeah, he's sleeping on the job and just trying to laugh at everybody that is making more money than every other Kenyan. Madam Speaker, the Minister for Cabinet Secretary for Roads, Mr. Murkomen, must wake up from sleep. He must go to work. This NTSA thing, he must shake it. Or he must shake himself. Madam Speaker, it is a shame that we have a government that cannot address simple things like road accident. This government must wake up, Madam Speaker. I'm telling this government from the floor of the House that the government is the reason why Kenyans are dying on the roads because of these road accidents. Madam Speaker, I support the motion and I want to urge government to wake up and serve the people of Kenya. Thank you.
The Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose, member for Endebess.
Madam Speaker, thank you. On the onset, I want to support this adjournment motion. And Madam Speaker, what is happening in our roads is very sad. And I think I want to disagree with the Honorable Atandi. It's not the government. It is the drivers on the road. When you drive recklessly, you have no permission from the government to drive recklessly on the road. You are not representing anybody. It is you who is driving recklessly. And therefore, I think, and again, you look, we have NTSA on the road, we have policemen on the road who are taking bribes, NTSA are taking bribes, and they are not taking bribes on behalf of government. You've been put there by government to do your job. So I think it is shameful that we have reported accidents within our roads. Recently, we lost students of Kenyatta University who are on their way to Mombasa. We've lost many Kenyans on very reckless driving within our roads. And I think it's a high time that we review who drives on the road, because we need to put stringent measures to make sure that anybody who is drunk should not drive on the road. People who are driving on the road even undergo some mental evaluation, because it seems there are people with suicidal tendencies driving within our roads. We must make sure that unroadworthy vehicles are also removed from the road. And it will be also a good culture that our drivers on the road, we must have courtesy. We must have some element of self-control, because more often you meet a driver, one driver does not want to give the other one the way of the roads to be able to pass. Everybody is on a rush. And I think this is not the way things should be done. So, Madam Speaker, I think it requires, and I want to urge our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Murkomen, to put up, maybe, I think we need to have a discussion on road safety. That what is it that we are not doing to make sure that our roads are safe for all of us? Because we are losing people on the road through reckless driving, and this should be able to stop. And as we have a wage bill discussion, I think we need also to have another discussion on road safety, because this is of serious proportion, where you have maybe people, and even drivers. When you are driving, you are a long-distance driver. How much time do you need to be able to drive on the road? Because you find that some of these long-distance bus drivers, you are driving from Nairobi to Kisumu, and then you are driving back. You should have time enough for you to rest, so that you can be able to be safe on our roads. So it's a whole discussion that needs a way of culture change within our people. It needs government to put in stringent measures to make sure that all our roads are safe, and to make sure that anybody driving on the road is a sane driver, is a sober driver, is a driver that will make sure that he reaches ferries the passengers to where he is going. And then those who are parking again on the roadsides must make sure that park the vehicle at the right place, because there are people, you saw the other day, some family who was driving to Kisii, And on their way in Nakuru, they pumped into a lorry that had been parked by the site. So I think that needs also to be corrected. When you park by the roads, please make sure that you park in a way that you don't cause obstruction to other road users. With those few remarks, I want to support the adjournment motion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pokose. Honorable members, I would like to give this opportunity to the Chairman Transport, the Honorable GK.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I rise to support this adjournment motion. Indeed, we are losing very many lives on our roads because of, mostly because of issues that can be avoided. A driver getting to the road when he is drunk is something that can be avoided. A border guy crashing without a helmet and hurting himself to a level where he cannot be saved is something that can be avoided. There are many accidents on our roads, Madam Speaker, that are happening due to negligence. I want to let the House know that we just come from an event here presided by His Excellency, the President at KICC, where he was launching the Road Safety Action Plan. And His Excellency is very committed to reduction of the numbers of deaths on our roads. Currently, we are losing, or the last few years, we have lost on average 4,000 Kenyans every year. This is something that we cannot allow to continue, Madam Speaker. And that's why all the government agencies that are concerned with the road safety and all stakeholders, we gathered together, including members of parliament of this transport committee, to discuss this matter and to see how we can help address the problem. Because, Honorable Speaker, in countries like Sweden, I'm told last year they only lost one person, and it was a crisis. And the minister had to do all that needs to be done in that country to make sure that that will not happen again. One person only. In our country, currently I am told we have over 20,000 Kenyans in hospitals who have been involved in accidents. And Madam Speaker, the amount of money in terms of economy, the effect on our economy is very grave. We need to come together as leaders and agree that this has to stop. Our young people who are making a living from border business, they can do it, they can get a living by doing things the right way. Driving or riding recklessly on a highway is not something that we should encourage. Madam Speaker, on the issue that my colleague has mentioned, courtesy, road courtesy, this is something that is causing a lot of problems on our roads. You will see, because I use Thika Highway often, or every week I use Thika Highway all the way to Kirinyaga. And you find on that road a truck driver driving at a very slow speed, moving his truck to the right side of the road. And the road signs are very clear. Keep left unless overtaking. You see a matatu driving at a very slow speed, right in the middle of the road. And then on the left, you see we see a pickup driving at a slow speed. And you're smack behind trying to overtake, and they will not allow you to overtake because you have nowhere to pass through. Road courtesy is something we need to emphasize on, because we cannot continue losing our lives the way we are doing, the way it's happening, and we cannot continue with this trade. It's regrettable. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. The Honorable Beatrice Kemei, member for Kericho.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And on the onset, I want to support the adjournment motion that is concerned with the issues of road accidents that have become so much and so many in this country. And I want to thank the Honorable Member for bringing it at this particular time. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad that we are losing so many lives because of carelessness on our roads. As member of Kericho County, I'm sad that a week ago we lost 7 people, and today one of them is being laid to rest, among many others. It has not been easy for us as leaders. We're supposed to contribute in their fundraisings, to console their families, and even to look for a way forward. Honorable Speaker, we really need to come out very strong as legislators and see at least a solution to this. And I want to appreciate the member who has just spoken who has just brought this motion. It is to let the country know that we are much concerned that the accidents on our roads is very disturbing. I remember, Honorable Speaker, less than a year ago, there's this truck or a lorry that went into a house, tramped into a house, and a young child was lost, a grade 4, and the mother, up to date, is bedridden. It has disturbed that family, and I don't know, somehow it affected a family that is very humble. So we've been trying to contribute, and interestingly, it is also affecting people with no insurance. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the drivers in this country, if they are not caring about themselves, let them care about the people they are actually carrying on those vehicles. Some of these drivers do not have the DL, others drive when they are drunk, others are absent-minded. I want to urge them to remember that they are carrying lives, the many that we have lost. Some of them need to go for a refresher course. Maybe they drove so many years ago or so many months ago, and they need to still go for a refresher course. Not forgetting, Honorable Speaker, we have the border also who have been affected out of these accidents. Some of them have no DL, have no training, and they also need to go for the same. We've also had cases of border and maybe a matatu, a border and a vehicle. So it has actually claimed many lives. And of course, you also have the pedestrians being affected. So following the rules, the road rules is very key. Having also those unworthy vehicles on the road should be removed. We have drivers who speed seriously, and when they speed, the end result is actually terrible. I also want to ask all the road users to be careful. As we talk about the state of our vehicles, it is also a factor that contributes to this. However, vehicles are driven by human beings, so the human behavior that we have contribute to this, and I would really ask everybody else to be more careful. When we lost the students of university, it was too painful. Our families are affected, and therefore today, as I stand here, I'm sending my message of condolence to the many families who lost their loved ones, and asking all the people in this country to be careful as the government also take their part. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
The Honorable Fatuma Masito, member for Kwale County. In the absence of the Honorable Fatuma, I give this chance to the Honorable Gisairu, member for Kitutu Masaba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to contribute to this adjournment motion by Honorable Nabulindo. Madam Speaker, road accidents have become a daily occurrence to this nation, taking away the lives of our loved ones, taking away the lives of innocent Kenyans, lives that could be preserved, and accidents that could be avoided. We need to ask ourselves that where did the Michuki rules go to? We need to ask ourselves that do we make rules for a season? That once whoever who initiated the rules is out of office, it becomes business as usual. While the Michuki rules were in play, we had law and order on the roads, we had sanity on the roads, because people saw that the government was taking its business serious on ensuring safety on our roads. Ours is to urge the current Ministry of Roads and Transport leaders to ensure we go back and reassess what was done right during the Michuki time and what needs to be brought back and implemented. Number two, Madam Speaker, the biggest cause of accidents on our roads is actually either the poor design of the roads, or if it's properly designed, the implementation of the design during construction. In Kenya today, very, very few roads are properly marked. And I was listening to the Cabinet Secretary, Transport, the other day while he was on television, while he admitted that actually road marking is not on our major roads. And you don't need to go far. Right here in the city of Nairobi, most of the roads are not marked. And when it rains and it's dark, it's very hard for even an experienced driver to know when he's within his lanes. I am one person who loves driving. Every year, I've ensured I drive from Kenya to the Southern Africa. The most dangerous parts I find myself driving in actually are in Kenya. Driving in Tanzania, you get the comfort. The roads are properly marked. The roads are wide enough. The border motorcycles have their side of the roads. In Kenya, we compete to be on the road, both the truck driver, the bus, saloon cars, boda, donkeys, and animals grazing by the roadside. Road marking, road design needs to be taken serious. If the government is going to say it's the driver who's reckless, then let them tell us how come on expressway we have very few, if any, accidents. Because the design of the road, the marking, is proper. The thicker road has significantly few accidents because of the design. But the moment you leave those two roads, it is God for you. You are not sure whether you'll make it, however careful a driver you are. Someone will take you out. Lastly, Madam Speaker, our law enforcers on the roads, we have good ones. But a majority, when they are on those roads, to them, it's a business venture. Those with speed cameras, they are there to trap you and collect money. Our law enforcers need to be trained that their work is to ensure the law, the traffic rules are followed so that we are able to save lives. If we don't do this, This will continue being a discussion while we bury our loved Kenyans who could be productive to the economy of this nation. Thank you, Madam Speaker, as I support this adjournment.
Thank you. The Honorable Badi, member for Jomvu.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii pia kuchangia katika huu mjadala muhimu sana. Mjadala huu Mheshimiwa Spika ni muhimu sana kwa sababu ni jana tu tukiwa na Mheshimiwa Bezimba wa Kisauni tulikuwa tukizungumza maneno kama haya wakati tukiwa katika kikao kimoja ambacho tulikuwa tumealikwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ni mwanakamati wa uchukuzi. Na kama alivyosema mwenyekiti wangu Mheshimiwa Spika, saa moja lililopita tulikuwa katika ukumbi wa KICC ambao Mheshimiwa Rais alikuwa akiweza kulaunch mambo ya road safety. Na leo Mheshimiwa Spika, yale ambayo yalijiri huko ni yale ambayo wanenaji wenzangu Mheshimiwa Spika aliweza kuwasema. Matatizo makubwa hatuwezi kumbwagia Waziri Murkomen. Waziri hata pale aliweza kuzungumza na akasema katika survey ambayo imeangaliwa vizuri sana, tatizo kubwa sana la mambo ya ajali na matatizo ya barabarani yanasababishwa na madereva ambao wanafanya shughuli hizo. Kwa hivyo ikiwa ni madereva wa mabasi, ikiwa ni madereva matatu, ikiwa ni madereva wa pikipiki. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu ambacho leo Mheshimiwa Rais aliweza kuzungumza, alisema kuwa kando na mikakati yote, lakini idadi ya ajali za barabarani imepanda, na akampatia Mheshimiwa Waziri Murkomen kusema kuwa mkutano kama ule wa leo utafanyika mwaka ujao na atakaripoti kuona kuwa ajali za barabarani zimeweza kushuka. Mheshimiwa Spika, yale ambayo yameweza kuzungumzwa na mimi pia nakubaliana nayo, kwa sababu unaona mtu kama alivyosema Mheshimiwa Murkomen, unaona mtu wa bodaboda anaenda kwenye kiwanja cha mpira, anazunguka raundi 2-3, anafundishwa hapo bila leseni, bila kila kitu, kesho anaingia barabarani, anakuwa yeye ni dereva wa zile pikipiki. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu ambacho mimi leo nataka kukisisitiza ni kusema kuwa NTSA leo imeweza kuambiwa pia iache mvutano na polisi. Kwa hivyo leo Rais aliweza kutoa directive ya kusema kuwa Director General Bwana Njau na Inspector General Bwana Koome wasing'ang'anie kusema hii ni mandate ya nani, hii ni mandate ya nani. NTSA, polisi, wote wana jukumu la kulinda wananchi wa Kenya katika mabarabara yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, unaona mtu ametoka na familia yake kwa sababu ya uzembe tu wa dereva, anakwenda anafanya ajali, familia nzima inapotea katika hali ambayo sio. Lakini nikiwa mwanakamati wa uchukuzi, nataka kusema ile uzinduzi ambao tumefanya leo na Mheshimiwa Rais itaweza kuonesha ya kwa kuwa ikiwa ni safety belt watakana kufunga, kutawekwa system ambayo itakuwa ikiwa hukufunga inaonekana mpaka kwenye head office ya NTSA. Ikiwa ni speed governor inaonekana. Kutawekwa cameras ambao leo wameweza kudemonstrate kuonesha kuwa ikiwa ni uzembe wa yule dereva itaweza kuonekana pale hivi ili iweze kujulikana uzembe ulikuwa wake ama ilikuwa namna gani. Leo Mheshimiwa Spika, tuwashukuru kama kamati, tukiangalia kule kwetu Mombasa, hasa katika sehemu yangu ya Jomvu, zamani ajali ilikuwa ni nyingi sana kwa sababu ya barabara mbovu. Lakini leo mimi nashukuru tuna barabara ambazo zimetengenezwa katika barabara ya highway. Kuna barabara ya Madafuni kutokea katika sehemu ya Rabai kule ijapokuwa baada ya wiki mbili kutoka leo petition committee ambao mimi niliipetition, kwa nini haijamaliza barabara ile? Kwa hivyo tutakuwa na committee hiyo kuona kuwa tunafanya bidii barabara ya Jitoni imalizike. Na leo ninamwambia Mheshimiwa Rais kwa barabara hiyo aliianzisha, lakini mpaka saa hizi kuna uzembe ya kuonesha kwa nini.
Asante. Asante Mheshimiwa. The Honorable Caroline Ngelechei, member for Elgeyo Marakwet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving chance to the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County. Madam Speaker, I want to support the adjournment motion by the Honorable Member. The rate at which we are losing our people in this country nowadays on road carnage and road accidents is extremely very high. And I want to agree with one member who said it is almost equivalent to all the causes of death combined lately, Madam Speaker. But also, even as I contribute and as I support, I also want to disagree with some members of parliament that want to put it on the shoulder of one individual. Well, it is not about the ministry, it is not about the CS, it is not about an individual. It is about the road users. The government is not in every matatu, is not in every school bus, is not in every motorcycle, or is not a pedestrian who is walking along the road. Madam Speaker, I think the blame should go to everyone, including the drivers, including even the passengers, and the traffic officers, each and every person, because it is an industry that accommodates many stakeholders and many players, Madam Speaker. Like, for instance, when you look at most of them, it is human error. It is the carelessness. You find people overtaking anyhow in places that are not approved for overtaking. You find even some other passenger vehicles are overloaded. And many a times, Madam Speaker, there are some departments that have slept on the job. Like, we can speak it openly that there is almost no inspection that is done. Many of the vehicles just have the documentation for inspection. There is nothing. There were the speed governors that were long installed on the PSVs, like the matatus, the buses. They are just there, but they are not working. You find a matatu or a bus at a speed of over 150 kilometers per hour, and you wonder if something happens and needs to brake, maybe to brake at an emergency rate, what is going to happen? Madam Speaker, what I want to speak about candidly, one of them is the law enforcers who are in our roads. Kenyans, and many Kenyans are used to being micromanaged to abide by the law. So the traffic police officers or the IG who is supposed to be in charge of the enforcement, you find that many police officers have made roads to be the toll stations. They are just there, they go to the roads just to collect 50 shillings or 100 shillings. Even if the motor vehicle is overspeeding, they are not taken to any court of law, they are not charged. You just pay the fee there. People bribe to get their way out. And at times why Kenyans prefer to do a bribe is how they are taken in circles. I wish there was a way that when you're found overspeeding, you're given what you're supposed to pay, you pay there and then you proceed. It could have been better. So there are so many players that must be put in place. Number two is, at times, Madam Speaker, especially of late, there was a video circulating like a month ago or 2 months ago, whereby there are unscrupulous traders manufacturing lubricants, oils, grease, and other products that are to be used by our motor vehicles in River Road or wherever the industry that they manufacture fake and counterfeit products. I think that an investigation, a thorough investigation must be done. We might be blaming at times on the drivers because if the wrong products are used on our motor vehicles, you find that the driver is blamed for losing control or for not for failed brakes. But you might find that maybe it is the lubricant that was used that is actually not the proper and the ideal one. So I think somebody should just think beyond just what we see in the naked eye, and investigate the motor vehicles involved in those road accidents. If at all the products that were in those motor vehicles, the mechanical part of it was correct or not, we might find that we are importing spare parts that are not to the standard. Maybe you find that most of those motor vehicles, most of them, of course, are Toyota. You find that they are local manufacturers or they are fake importers of Toyota parts that maybe when installed on our motor vehicles.
Thank you, Caroline. Honorable members, I noticed that you are not able to identify the mover. So this motion of adjournment was moved by the Honorable Oscar Nabulindo. So most of you have just been saying by the Honorable member. I realize that it's very difficult to pronounce his name, but it's Honorable Oscar Namulindo. So the next one is the Honorable Kiarie. The Honorable John Waweru, member for Dagoretti South.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. And I also thank you, I also want to thank the Honorable Oscar Nabulindo for stopping the business of this House so that we can discuss a matter of great national interest. Madam Speaker, where we ought to start is by realizing the responsibilities that each person and each entity holds. This House in itself has a responsibility, and the responsibility goes beyond becoming a lamenting House. We cannot stand here on such an important motion to just talk the usual things that we have heard out there. In fact, we should be part of offering the solution. Madam Speaker, in assigning responsibility, there is no way a government will run away from the responsibility of securing the lives of its people anywhere, up to and including the roads. This is because the Constitution does give provisions for government to protect life and property of its citizens. Madam Speaker, it is the government that develops policy. It is the government that is involved in driver training. It is the government that does the safety checks on drivers, on roads, and on equipment and transport vehicles. It is government that is policing these roads through the Ministry of Interior. It is government that is developing the infrastructure that is failing at very critical times. So, Madam Speaker, responsibilities ought to be assigned so that each and every person takes their rightful role in correcting the menace that we are observing on our roads. Madam Speaker, some problems are historical. Some of them have been because of the lethargy of people in positions of decision-making, fearing that the problem is too big and they are not able to surmount it. But Madam Speaker, in a very recent history, we have seen a minister who stood up against all odds and was able to correct the menace on our roads, albeit for a very short period. And Madam Speaker, this should work as the gold standard on what the government ought to do at a time such as this. Madam Speaker, if government is not going to step up to its to the plate, to its responsibility, then whatever it is that we do with this 0 hour, with this adjournment motion, amounts to nothing, Madam Speaker. Because when you look at the problems that we are working with, they will require for government to start giving solutions on so many levels. An example can be given, Madam Speaker, on infrastructural development. The Honorable President Emeritus, Mwai Kibaki, is credited for building an amazing piece of infrastructure in the name of Thika Road, Madam Speaker. That infrastructure, when it was provided, was sufficient for that time. But if you go to Thika Road today, you shall find traffic untold. But even more tragically, Madam Speaker, on the same road that is a super highway, you shall find all manner of traffic, motorized traffic, 10-wheelers, matatus, border borders, and anything that you can imagine, all fighting for the same lane. But Madam Speaker, when you're on the same infrastructural installation that is called Thika Road, you shall see beautiful road signs that assign lanes to different parts of traffic. On your extreme right, Madam Speaker, there is very clear signage that says that trucks and lorries cannot be on the first lane. But Madam Speaker, you shall see us as Kenyans blindly speeding a 10-wheeler truck on this first lane, which is reserved for overtaking and fast traffic. But Madam Speaker, the responsibility then falls on government to check on how we are policing our roads, how we are developing this infrastructure, how we are doing the safety checks, how is that driver being trained. And Madam Speaker, this House also has some responsibility to play. We might need to review some laws so that we allow for quite a number of things, which will include even behavior change campaigns to change the national psyche of our people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, because of time, I need to add that our laws will also need to onboard technology so that technology can assist where we have failed to be able to police and bring safety to our roads. Madam Speaker, I wish we would have this adjournment motion come to us as a substantive amendment.
Thank you, KJ. The Honorable Millie Odhiambo, member for Suba North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the honorable member for bringing this adjournment motion. Madam Speaker, I'll be very brief on this issue. And I just want to say that if you listen to all that the members are saying, as a House, we have actually brought laws. We have passed laws. And the issue that is bedeviling this country is corruption. The reason that we have unroadworthy vehicles is because of corruption. The reason we have overspeeding is because of corruption. Madam Speaker, the reason we don't have people jailed who have actually caused those accidents is because of corruption. And Madam Speaker, we can talk about this issue until God knows when. But what we need to do as a country is to deal with corruption. And the only way to deal with corruption is to have political goodwill at the top. And we hope the President will wake up and notice that Kenyans are dying and deal with corruption decisively. Because if you look at countries where they've actually moved ahead, they have dealt with corruption. I thank the member.
Thank you, Honorable Millie. The Honorable Naisula Lesuda, member for Samburu West.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity so that I can contribute to this very important adjournment motion on the increased numbers of accidents that we have seen on our roads. And I want to thank Honorable Oscar for bringing this adjournment motion. Madam Speaker, just to add to what my colleagues have said, it is very devastating, it is very painful to see every single day we are losing so many people on our roads, and even one life is a lot to lose on our roads, Madam Speaker. Yesterday we saw in Makwiny, we buried 7 people at one go. I can imagine the pain that that family is undergoing and the pain that that family is going through as they bury 7 family members in one day, Madam Speaker. One, as Honorable KJ has said, we have to look at ourselves as Kenyans, Madam Speaker. And I must say that we have very bad manners, just as individuals, as people, in the manner that we drive, in the manner that we cross our roads, in the manner that if there's no police officer, we will not be able to follow the law, Madam Speaker. So it is a matter of our training and changing our mindsets as Kenyans on how we value our lives and even the lives of others, Madam Speaker. Having said that, as it has been said, enforcement and the role of government is very, very important in ensuring that we reduce our accidents. If you go to the developed world, it is not so much also even just about what people would like to do. It is about enforcement. You know that if you do a mistake a number of times, you lose your license for a year or 2 years. You know that you will get, because of the cameras as well, you will get your fine at your doorsteps. And so people then will tend to follow the laws of a country, Madam Speaker. And so we cannot run away from enforcing. We are not short of our laws and policies. They are there. And we cannot run away from the fact that the enforcement has to be done so that people can actually correct their bad manners to ensure that we follow the law. If you just go to a country like Rwanda, our neighbors here, and we have said that so many times, and we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to others. Others should be learning from us, Madam Speaker. When you go there, there is discipline from our border borders there on how they enforce, they ensure that they wear helmets. Even there is a helmet for the person that they are carrying. They follow their lane, Madam Speaker. And so it is important that we ensure that enforcement and we eradicate the issue of corruption. Because also, once corruption is entangled with the issue of enforcement, then it is impossible for proper enforcement to be done, Madam Speaker. And so I do not want to belabor. I just want to say that it is also unfortunate that we only talk about these issues when so many accidents have happened. That is when we see, you know, all the people from the ministry talking, ourselves in Bunge. This should be something that should be done every other day, even when we do not have accidents, Madam Speaker, so that it becomes following the law, so that it becomes issues of enforcement are done every single day, and not just to wait until we have so many accidents across the country that we are all talking and we are all trying to put a bandage on top of our wound, Madam Speaker. So thank you for this opportunity, and I do hope that we will make this our day-to-day you know, life in ensuring that we change our mannerisms and ensure that enforcement is also done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Moses Ijendi, member for Malava.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also arise to appreciate Honorable Oscar Nabolindo, MP for Matungu, for this motion of adjournment. Madam Speaker, for those of us who have traveled to foreign countries, particularly Europe and America, and even here, Rwanda, you see, we don't see police officers on the roads in those particular countries. Accidents are to the minimal. Madam Speaker, I'm just wondering why the Minister for Roads has actually decided to recall NTSA. And we recall at the time NTSA was being removed from the roads, it was because of how it was acting, causing so many accidents in the country. Madam Speaker, if the recalling of NTSA back to the roads is the issue of corruption because of the police officers, it would be very obvious that now corruption will be on the increase, on the highest, because both of them are civil servants. Both of them are employees of the government. So if police officers are taking corruption, then NTSA persons will continue also taking this corruption. In any case, even previously, NTSA persons were really the most corrupt person in the country. So, Madam Speaker, the issue is not increasing inspectorate on the roads. The issue is improving on the police oversight role in the roads. Madam Speaker, the other issue that I feel causes most accidents on our roads are the road designs. Madam Speaker, I want to take the case of a road from Kakamega to Kabrengu in Kakamega County, and the junction at Kabrengu. The design is so poor that these roads, we always have accidents, particularly Kabrengu. So maybe when it comes to road designs, I don't know why this happens, because we believe we have engineers who can actually draw this particular road and do what's required. And even some of the roads, after designing, they have no signposts. So you find that a place that looks like we have a depression, there's no proper indication for the driver who is speeding at 90 to know that at this particular point we have to reduce the speed so as to be at 60 or 40. So, Madam Speaker, it really is an issue for us to look at that can actually improve or reduce the number of accidents on our roads. Madam Speaker, previously during Moi's time, he had banned the driving of lorries, trucks at night. I don't know what happened with this, Madam Speaker. I would imagine, as the previous speaker has just put, we have the rules, we have the laws. If the current minister, CS, can actually effect these rules, Mishuki rules, the issue of these trucks, these lorries not moving at night, Madam Speaker would really check on this. Madam Speaker, also, when you look at the school buses carefully, the design of school buses is not adequate. they are structured such that they are weak in themselves. When they are at a speed of, let's say, 90 or 100, you see they are prone to actually rolling on the roads, which requires the designers for the road construction or for the bus designs to recheck, to reconsider the school buses and even the buses on the roads. Madam Speaker, the other victim to road accidents are motorbikes. Madam Speaker, when you just walk over across to Uganda here, motorbikes also respect traffic rules. But in Kenya, it's very interesting. Motorbikes are no respecter of any rules or traffic rules. They move about even on highway the way they so wish, causing a lot of confusion in the roads. Madam Speaker, sometimes even when the lights are off, when the lights are on for pedestrians to move, you find that motorbikes are moving and causing a lot of accidents in the country. Madam Speaker, I also know of, I don't know if we can talk of maybe salaries. Madam Speaker, I know of some drivers from western part of Kenya. Driving from western Kenya to Nairobi, it takes about 8 hours, 9 hours. A bus driver drives from western from 7 o'clock, arrives here around 5 o'clock in the evening. Madam Speaker, the same driver is to drive the bus back to western. Maybe we have to look at also this because of the issue of maybe payment. The employers of these particular drivers want to have only one driver for purposes of managing their wage bills. Otherwise, if this is taken care of, Madam Speaker, maybe you can control the number of accidents in the country. Otherwise, I thank Mr. Nabulindo for this motion. Thank you.
Cynthia Muge, member for Nandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to appreciate Honorable Nabulindo, MP Matungu, for bringing this adjournment motion. Honorable Speaker, it is indeed important that we have a discussion as a House of Representatives of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that there's no one thing that will make traffic fatalities go away. That said, Honorable Speaker, I would want to say that we must work together. Together, Honorable Speaker, that entails the drivers who are the road users and every other stakeholder, Honorable Speaker, who has a responsibility in this sector, the road sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just like Honorable members have said, we do not have a deficit of laws and policies in this House and in this country. We have so many of them, Honorable Speaker. The only problem that is that the policies and the laws that have been drafted and passed, Honorable Speaker, unfortunately, they have been used as cash cows. Honorable Speaker, you go to the roads and you find a very sad situation where the traffic police knows that there is a problem with this driver and this vehicle. And the driver and the owner of the vehicle also know that there's a problem with the vehicle they're driving and them as the drivers, Honorable Speaker. But the two parties, Honorable Speaker, the traffic officer and the driver and the owner of this vehicle, decide to pacify the situation by exchanging some petty notes, 50 shillings or 100 shillings, so that they can be left to go about their business, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is the problem and this is the situation that we must speak to and we must be able to sort it out. Honorable Speaker, I remember when I was a small girl, and there was a time that the Michuki rules were in force, Honorable Speaker. And if you look at the reports that came out, Honorable Speaker, after 3 months, the road accidents, Honorable Speaker, they had come down by a whole 74%, Honorable Speaker. And there is no magic that Michuki, as a Minister of Transport, employed in that particular situation. He actually ensured that there was implementation of the policies and the laws that have been passed by parliaments and that have been put together by experts, Honorable Speaker. That is the only thing that he did. Honorable Speaker, many people thought that the enforcement of those policies and laws were brutal. But Honorable Speaker, it does not matter how bad or how good the enforcement is. What matters, Honorable Speaker, is actually order that is brought to our roads and to our sectors, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a hard decision and someone must take responsibility. Like Honorable KJ has said, Honorable Speaker, it is the responsibility of a government, a responsibility that has been put down in the Constitution,
to protect its people from all the negative things that they might be faced with, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is the responsibility of this government, our government, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that these laws and policies are enforced, Honorable Speaker, to the last bit, so that we can be able to sort out this mess and so that we can be able to have order in our roads and reduce, Honorable Speaker, the deaths. Honorable Speaker, you should see how painful it is to put 4 people in a coffin coming from the same family for a funeral, Honorable Speaker. I don't think there is anything as hurtful, as painful as that, Honorable Speaker. And this is something that can be sorted out, Honorable Speaker, by all of us playing our role. As a driver, you do your part, and as an enforcement officer or entity,
does vandalize this road signage and take it for their own use. Madam Speaker, this behavior of our Kenyans must stop. Madam Speaker, I am the MP Sotik, and there's a road which the section between Chebole and Soimet is a black spot. People have died there. We have had several accidents. Some are fatal, some have maimed lives of our people, and we have asked the Ministry of Infrastructure to put measures to stop the killing of people in these areas. Madam Speaker, we have defective vehicles. And the police are there. They cannot stop this thing. People are on the road, and they are driving defective vehicles, and none of them has been arrested and taken to court. We have careless drivers. Madam Speaker, we have seen several of these people who are driving vehicles carelessly. And Madam Speaker, speeding is an issue. I watched Honorable Murkomen yesterday, Madam Speaker, and he spoke very well. But I think it's high time, Madam Speaker, we put whatever we are saying in practice. He has very good plans. We are going to see Mheshimiwa Murkomen implement whatever plans he has. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this adjournment motion and ask the mover to move now and look at the laws, whether we can be able to change, review, and even bring up new bills to start changing our laws in this country. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the mover and ask this House that they have got the responsibility to make our roads.
Thank you. The Honorable Dr. Gideon Ochanda, member for Bondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when we look at what's in front of us deeply, there's a general problem, and there's a big one in terms of where did the rain start beating us? I think this is the first question that we need to raise as a country. Either it is in terms of our blood, whether it is in terms of cultures, the way we've just brought ourselves up, there is a problem. And this problem is where we don't value life. What's happening in this country in the name of road accidents will be a crisis in many countries. And we look at it as the order of the day. It happens. And it's too much. We are losing a lot. But the problem is when we don't value lives. We don't value lives in terms of the human, whether they are engineers, whether they are drivers, whoever is a road user in any sense, or people who do infrastructure development. There is a general problem in terms of how we do things. We do things in a manner that by the end of the day, we don't care whether it's going to, it's something that will make us lose lives or not. And I think that's what we need to revisit as a country. Where is it? What is it that we need to do so that we get back to a situation, we get back to understanding that there's a culture that can help us value human life. Immediately we don't value that, we are not going anywhere. If you're on the road at any time and you see the way a matatu pass, the next question is, does this person really value life? And we ask that question through and through anytime you're on the road. Because these guys who are driving the matatus, their behavior is the same. They behave the same, the police behave the same, whether you are in Kibwezi or you are in Busia, police behave the same, matatu drivers behave the same, these piki guys behave the same. It is just a bad behavior. A bad behavior that you are seeing and is common. So what is it that we need to do? So as a country, we need to look back and see exactly how do we start some exercise of where we can value life. If you don't value life, I don't think there's anything that we are going to be doing. If you value life as a person and you are a driver, definitely you will be observant on road signs. You'll be very careful in terms of what you do. You'll not be looking out for the police to tell you that you are overspeeding. When you are overspeeding, you are doing 160, and then you are saying that you are doing it, so even if the police doesn't see you or whatever. Whom are you doing it for? Whom are we driving for? I think these questions we must ask ourselves. Whom are we? We must get to know that when you are on the wheels of a car, you are driving, you are first driving for yourself. And if you don't value your life, definitely you will not value life of any other person. You will not value life of the third person. And this is exactly what we are seeing. We are witnessing this thing day in, day out. Accidents, you can chronologize them. That a week or days doesn't pass when we have accidents involving trucks, huge trucks parked along the roadside. A week or hours doesn't pass when we don't have a matatu hitting or a matatu killing people. Days don't pass when you get because this accident, the way they happen, one can track them. One will get to know, like what was happening the other 1 or so weeks. What's happening that school institutions and school buses are the ones that were now getting involved in accidents in 1 week. Their frequency was just too much. What was happening? Is it something that you want to ask the schools? Is it something that I'm not too sure whom exactly you want to ask? Why that week that all of a sudden it is institutions and school buses and college buses are the ones that are getting accidents? What is happening other weeks that they are not getting into accidents? What's happening that is the trucks that constantly we have? So these are things that are identifiable. We can isolate them and they can be worked on, including the issues of those who are developing the roads, Madam Speaker. So in my view, Madam Speaker, if you don't get to a situation where we value life, we get into systems where people, everybody else start valuing life, including their own lives. And if they don't start with valuing their own lives, I don't think we are going to be safe, whether we are on the roads or anywhere else, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Yegon, member for Bomet East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to contribute in this very important adjournment motion. This motion is of national importance, Madam Speaker, because as we are debating this motion, the President was unveiling the National Road Safety Action Plan 2024-2028 this morning in KICC, Madam Speaker. This was talking about the same issues of mitigating the road carnage in this country. And Madam Speaker, the issues going around these problems of road accidents in this country is because there are so many challenges we face or we see along the way when we are driving on the roads, in our roads. First of all, the police needs to up their game because they don't check all these vehicles, including the boda bodas or the motorcycles, because you find most of the vehicles being driven on our roads, Madam Speaker, what do you call the parking light, the brake lights, and even the hazards are not working. And you find, I don't know what the police officers are checking on the roads, because they should be making impromptu checks to make sure that all those, the brake lights, the traffic, the parking lights and the wipers, even and the headlights are working in all the vehicles moving around in our roads. Madam Speaker, you also find the motorcycles. There is a requirement for the motorcycles to put the headlights on, either during the day or during the night. All these motorcycles need to have their headlights on. But in Kenya here, we don't have any motorcycle putting the headlights during the day. And this contribute to making accidents in our roads, because you see motorcycles being driven by one person or something like that. Is very, it is hard to identify that is a motorcycle. It's like a person moving on the road, and this must be made mandatory. Issues of helmets in the motorcycles also. There is, at the moment, it is very hard to find a motorcycle or a motorcycle rider putting on a helmet, leave alone the passenger also, who are not given the helmets to ride. And they carry excess, up to 4 passengers, including the rider himself. They come to a total of 5 in one motorcycle, which is, which I can say, Madam Speaker, it is against the law, which one person has to be given, has to be carried in a motorcycle. You find also most of the vehicles which are stalling on the roads, they don't have reflective triangle. This is something which needs to be checked, and make NTSA and Kenya Police to make sure that all these are checked. Drunk driving in Kenya also has become so rampant. We need also to put laws which are very strict to make sure that at least people are put behind bars when they are found when they are drunk driving. The Michuki rules, the famous Michuki rules, need to be brought back, Madam Speaker. During the Michuki time, we used to find people very discipline. They were putting on safety belts in their vehicles, and all the rules which was put in place. And again, on the roads, when we are driving on the highways or even the expressways, these dual carriageways, we normally find vehicles which are heavy vehicles keeping right instead of keeping left when they are not overtaking. To cut accident or to make accidents. I want to submit this and I want to congratulate the mover, Honorable Oscar Namulindo, for bringing this very important motion. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable John Waluke, member for Sirisia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me also a chance to contribute on this very important motion. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Oscar Namulindo for bringing up this, because, Madam Speaker, as a country, Madam Speaker, we've lost 1,300 people within a span of about 3 months, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I suggest myself that the Minister for Transport, Roads and Transport, Madam Speaker, the Honorable Murkomen, should adopt the Michuki rules and also Michuki orders. Kenyans, Madam Speaker, are always very notorious and they always test the system. So the minister should be firm with the rules, Madam Speaker, about, Madam Speaker, during Michuki's time, Madam Speaker, the trucks would not move in the night. The truck should stop moving from 6 p.m. and also the school buses, Madam Speaker. The school buses, Madam Speaker, has killed very many students. Our children have died on roads because of careless driving. Sometimes, Madam Speaker, the visibility in the night is not good, and the vehicles are allowed to run during night time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if these rules cannot be adopted, Madam Speaker, we are going to lose very many people as a country, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the President for commissioning it today, Madam Speaker, and I hope the police and NTSA are going to work, because the enforcement officers, Madam Speaker, have not been working. Sometimes you can just see them talking over the phone instead of working, many times. And you cannot operate stopping vehicles and talking to the phone the way our Kenyan police do. Madam Speaker, there's the road cameras, Madam Speaker, the CCTV cameras must be put on every road, Tamaka Road especially, all over the country, Madam Speaker. We want to adopt the Europe system, Madam Speaker. Like in US, the police will not put a roadblock on the road. There are no roadblocks for police on the road, Madam Speaker, but they have put CCTV on the roads everywhere. Wherever you go, police will just follow you if you have made a mistake, if you are overspeeding, and if it will detect also when you are drunk. Madam Speaker, you'll just see the police following you with either their motorbike
or the police car. They are not put police like here. They look private, but they are just for the police to monitor the roads, Madam Speaker. And this is what we need to adopt. Recently, I lost my neighbors, 3 boys near me. Madam Speaker, they were crushed by the trailer. You could not identify them. Identify them, Madam Speaker. And even when I was sending my condolences, I say that there are 2 whom I don't know. And yet they are just my neighbors near my house. Madam Speaker, they were crushed by the truck. Madam Speaker, some roads are small in the size, and that is why, Madam Speaker, very many people are being crushed by bigger.
Thank you. The Honorable Rashid Benziba, member for Kisauni.
Asante sana Madam Speaker, kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuchangia swala hili ambalo limeleta hasara kubwa katika taifa letu, ajali barabarani. Ni huzuni kubwa sana Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa maisha yanayopotea kwenye barabara zetu na kubadilisha kwa watu wetu kwa hali ya maumbile yao kwa wakati mmoja. Anatoka nyumbani akiwa mzima, anarudi baada ya wiki akiwa mlemavu. Hii ni kitu cha kusikitisha sana kwa barabara zetu. Na hapa Mheshimiwa Badi, pia ni mwanachama wa kamati ya transport, amezungumza waziwazi mambo ambayo yanatosha yarekebishwe. Lakini upande wangu mimi nitakwenda kwa Wizara ya Barabara. Wizara ya Barabara inahitajika iwekeze ili kupunguza zetu. Ajali zimerudi chini Rwanda, hata Tanzania karibu na sisi. Lakini hapa kwetu shida imekuwa hapa ndio ajali zaidi. Imekuwa sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wakitaka kutoka na familia asubuhi, kama wanasafiri kwenda hatua kidogo, kwanza wanaomba maombi ya kwenda kaburini, wanaomba maombi ya kuamkia huko, kwa sababu hawana uhakika wa kufika. Na hata wakiwa kwa barabarani, wale wamewacha manyumbani, wana wasiwasi mpaka wanawapigia simu mpaka wafike. Mshafika, ndio wanashukuru. Ni kwa sababu barabara zetu zina matatizo. Hizi wizara wahakikisha waende wasome sehemu zile zingine. Hapa kuna kibarabara kimejitengenezwa kidogo, yani hata kupishana ni shida. Hawa madereva wetu walioko hapa Kenya ni madereva wazuri sana wakenda nchi za Ulaya, kwa sababu barabara ni pana, wanaweza kupishana na magari mengine. Ajali nyingi hapa unaziona ni head on, kwa sababu huyu ana overtake, huyu amefika, kwa sababu vijibarabara vimejifinya sana. Vile vile wizara lazima iweke ishara kwenye barabara ya kuonesha hapo unapokwenda mbele kuna kona ambayo ni mbaya. Hapo sasa, hapa mahali pakinyesha panateleza. Lakini sasa hapa hakuna, ni wende tu wewe. Huko mbele hata ishara ya bump hakuna. Unaenda unapanda ile bump, unajikuta umeingia msituni ama umepiga wanaouza mboga. Kwa hivyo ile wizara yetu ya barabara lazima iwekeze. Halafu lengine ni ushirikiano baina ya wale washikadau wote walioko pale barabarani. Ikiwa mabasi yanaleta ajali, lazima uwaite wale washikadau, muje mzungumze nao, mjue shida iko wapi, kwa nini na kuwa hivi. Ikiwa madereva wanafanyishwa kazi ziada pale, mtawaeleza vipi watakavyokwenda taratibu. Lakini hapa kwetu hakuna kuitana washikadau, ni mtu anakaa ofisini anaamua kuanzia kesho, shika wewe dereva ama fanya hivi. Hiyo haiwezi saidia kama taifa. Taifa lazima watu wakae chini wajadiliane. Na katika wale washikadau walioko barabarani kama polisi, ikiwa mmeona polisi, yule polisi officer, wako polisi wazuri, na kuna wale maofisa ambao wanapenda pesa. Mkijua huyu anapenda pesa, muacheni akalinde benki, alafu lete wengine ambao watakaa barabarani. Yule ambaye anapenda pesa mweke karibu na benki pale, ahesabu, asikize harufu ya pesa. Mulete maofisa ambao ni wazuri, watakaa barabarani kuhakikisha kwamba wanasimamisha gari na kumshtaki dereva kwa haki. Si kumshtaki tu kwa sababu wamekuja wataka shilingi 200, amekwambia hana, unamshtaki. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni sisi wenyewe kama wizara ama serikali, mambo mengi yapangwe, si masuala ya madereva. Dereva ni sawa, ikiwa amefanya ajali mara ya kwanza, ameenda ameshtakiwa, amefanya ya pili, huyo tayari iwe na doa, ile license yake siwe renewed tena. lakini si kwamba tu munaamka na kusema kwamba wewe nyinyi madereva kuanzia leo mtarudi training, si wote ambao wana matatizo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningependa kwenda zaidi, lakini kuna Mheshimiwa Samsam ana maneno makali mazuri, pia akipewa nafasi mwa muda wangu itakuwa ni uzuri. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
Asante Mheshimiwa Benziva. The Honorable Timothy Toroitich, member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving an opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I wish to thank the Honorable Oscar Nabulindo for such a precedent-setting motion that we discuss the safety of our roads in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, it is very unfortunate that in this country we lose so many people through road accidents. Honorable Speaker, this can be attributed to so many factors. One of the issues that we have in this country, Honorable Speaker, is the road designs. Honorable Speaker, if you travel in some of these roads, you find that there are roads that have, the culverts are not completed. You find that there are areas that are not properly drained, and those are the issues that the Ministry of Transport should be able to look closely at to ensure that the design of our roads meets the threshold that is needed. Honorable Speaker, what is killing this country is corruption. We have so many legislations. I have had the advantage of practicing in our courts. Honorable Speaker, we have the Traffic Act, Cap 403, which is very explicit in terms of the legal provisions it has provided for traffic offenses. Honorable Speaker, we have various statutes that regulate traffic element in this country. Honorable Speaker, we have regulations, we have rules, we have guidelines, so many of them. Honorable Speaker, what is lacking in this country is enforcement. Honorable Speaker, sometimes it is wrong to blame, for example, the CS for transport, because there are so many enforcement officers that the laws in this country provides for. Honorable Speaker, we have traffic officers on our roads. And I say corruption because of this. Honorable Speaker, we have, as members of this House, police officers from all over the country have been requesting for transfers. And most of the officers want to be placed in the roads as traffic officers. Honorable Speaker, the reason for that is because they want to corrupt their ways in the roads, get quick money, and they don't enforce the rules, the laws that are in place that are supposed to be enforced. Honorable Speaker, the other weak link that we have is our courts. Honorable Speaker, there is the allegations of massive corruption when it comes to the issue of prosecution of traffic offenders in our country. Honorable Speaker, some people have found their ways to be able to be given penalties that are not provided for by the law. Honorable Speaker, as a House, we also need to look at the enforcement in terms of amending the existing laws. Honorable Speaker, we have an offense in this country called causing death by careless driving, which provides actually for certain penal consequences. Honorable Speaker, some of those penal consequences needs to be reviewed, because if, for example, someone has caused death by careless driving and you give a fine of 10,000 shillings, it is something that as a country we must be able to look at as a House, because this House is charged with the law, is a law-making body. We must be able to sit down, we review the traffic laws in this country and be able to ensure that we set penalties that can be able to set examples to others who want to cause traffic offenses. Honorable Speaker, finally, traffic or accidents in this country is an issue of sometimes individuals. Honorable Speaker, it goes to our morality as our nation. The basis of the foundation of this country is we have certain moral values that we uphold. Honorable Speaker, there are certain decent acts that as drivers, that as Kenyans, we should be able to abide by our roads. Honorable Speaker, on the issue of, for example, obstruction, why should we overlap? It is an issue of morality. Honorable Speaker, morality, there is no school for morality in this country. These are inherent values that individuals must be able to have so that they can behave in a manner that respects other road users in our country. Honorable Speaker, inasmuch as you wish to blame other authorities. Honorable Speaker, the issue of morality, we should be able to have conscience in our roads. Honorable Speaker, we should also have the issue of enforcement of our laws by the relevant stakeholders in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Dr. Nyikal. If you speak for 2 minutes, the Honorable Sanei will have a chance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'll just say that this is a problem of a big magnitude. But the problem is we approach things with the knee-jerk reaction. We don't even do analysis of what causes the problems, whether it is a road structure and road signs, vehicle failure, roadworthiness of vehicles, human error, whether people are drunk, whether they are speeding, whether people have poor eyesight, and then use that to do a planned enforcement, not when some things happen and suddenly you see people on the road. If we do that and analyze why things are happening, and we do something that is done regularly, daily, that is how people learn. If things are done regularly, daily, according to the law, including court and imprisonment, people will follow. But if we wait until something happens and we don't even know the root causes, nothing will happen. With that, Madam Speaker, I support, and I would ask the honorable member that actually we should analyze why they are happening.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Sanei, member for Wajir North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vehicular accidents are a serious concern nationally. Madam Speaker, the fatalities arising from road carnage far overwhelms the combined fatalities of COVID-19, terrorists, and other causes of death in this country. It is nearly the killer #1 in Kenya. Madam Speaker, in recognition of this concern, the President today launched the National Road Safety Action Plan to kickstart national campaigns towards road safety. Just after the noon prayers, the Islamic noon prayers today, I'll be going to Langata Cemetery to at least participate in the burial of one whom we lost yesterday in an accident between Nakuru and Langata. That is the extent Kenyan households are very much devastated by road accidents. What the current situation we are enmeshed in is as a result of so many factors. First, do we have the laws? I believe we have comprehensive laws. What we are in is in a situation where we can't enforce the laws. I can see the light is on, it is about enforcement. We have the laws. It would be better if all the concerned sectors participate in making sure that our laws are implemented accordingly. Behavior. It's not a one-man affair. Road safety is a societal issue. Madam Speaker, do we really observe safety measures in our roads? From the drivers, pedestrians, all users. It calls upon all Kenyans to check on their behavior so that we are sensitive to road safety. Further, Madam Speaker, it is about this new concern. A major concern is motorbikes, the use of motorbikes on our roads. Do we have the right engineering to accommodate motorcycles? How are they managed in terms of licensing? Who has a database that can at least show that a particular motorbike comes from Wajir North and it is traversing the entire nation on the northern part of the nation, and somebody can at least be answerable and enforce.
Thank you, honorable members. I can see lots of interest. The Honorable Dawood, the Honorable Zamzam, Honorable Mbaka, the Honorable Kwome, the Honorable Ivo Bara, and the Honorable Patrick Monene. Time is up. Honorable members, let us be upstanding. Honorable members, and the time now being 1 o'clock, this House stands adjourned until today afternoon, Wednesday, the 17th day of April 2020. 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
This is a live broadcast of the Senate sitting, streaming from the Parliament proceedings. We are glad that you have joined us. Pursuant to the House Standing Order number 51 on questions, with regards to that, there will be time designated for questions and responses by the Cabinet Secretaries. Is that this morning, three senators include the cabinet. These cabinet secretaries include the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nahumicha, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, Professor Kithure Kindiki. These are the Cabinet Secretaries that this morning are set to appear before the Senate to respond to various questions from members of the Senate, pursuant to the House Standing Order number 51C, which indicates that a senator shall ask his or her questions on the day it is scheduled in the order paper. And in today's order paper, the senators that have their questions scheduled in for today include the Honorable Senator for Nairobi City County, Edwin Sifuna, who will be posing a question to the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, and the Senate responses from at Uhuru Park in Nairobi City, which was being done by the Kenya Defense Forces, KDF, whether the works are complete. This is with regards to the renovation works at Uhuru Park in Nairobi City that were being undertaken by the Kenya Defense Forces. Also, the senator will be seeking to get answers from the Cabinet Secretary on whether the park has been handed over to the Nairobi City County Government, and if not, whether the Cabinet Secretary could provide a timeline for the same. These are the questions that the Honorable Senator for Nairobi City County, Honorable Edwin Sifuna, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, who will be appearing before the Senate this morning. As you can see inside the chambers is that preparations are underway. They are actually done. And once the House starts, then the Cabinet Secretary will be invited into the chambers and shown the point where he will be standing as he responds to these questions. The Honorable Senator for Kisumu County also this morning will be granted time to ask a question to the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nahumicha. The Senator for Kisumu County, Honorable Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, will be seeking to understand from the CS whether the Cabinet Secretary could confirm that there is widespread medical insurance fraud perpetrated by healthcare facilities in Kenya, particularly within the private health sector, through practices such as unnecessary medical tests, scans, and incorrect diagnosis aimed at unfairly generating revenue for the facilities. The Honorable Senator will also be seeking to understand from the Cabinet Secretary whether the government has conducted an inquiry into this matter, and if so, whether the Cabinet Secretary could table the report of its findings. The last question by the Honorable Senator Professor Tom Ojenda to the CS for Health will be what measures the government has put in place to ensure accountability by healthcare facilities and to provide compensation to the victims of medical insurance fraud. These three questions are set to be responded to by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nahumicha, posed by the Senator for Kisumu County, Honorable Professor Tom Ojenda. The Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, Professor Kithure Kindiki, will be responding to questions by four senators this morning. The Senator for Kisumu County, Professor Tom Ojenda, has three questions for the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. This question includes that the Cabinet Secretary provide a status update on investigations into the intercommunal clashes that occurred in Sondu town, which lies in the border region of Kericho and Kisumu counties during the demonstrations in June and July 2023. On the same line, the Senator will be asking the Cabinet Secretary what progress the government has made in the disarmament of armed groups in the town, as well as measures the government has put in place to promote peaceful coexistence. But as you can see, the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Lamason Jeffa Kingi, is in the chambers. He will be presiding over this morning's sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good morning.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba tuajalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi hii yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do you have quorum? Sanjay Tatams, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Well, the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa-Kingi, has directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. This is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 39 and 40. Standing Order 39 indicates that the quorum of the Senate shall be 15 senators. This means that before the House commences its sitting, the 15 members should be inside the chambers and seated for the House to be considered to have achieved that required number of members at the commencement of the House business. So if there is no quorum present, once the chair is taken at the appointed time for the sitting of the Senate, the Speaker shall immediately after the prayer order the bell be rung for 10 minutes. That is exactly what we have seen the Speaker do after the prayer. Once the quorum was identified to be absent, that's when the Speaker ordered the bell to. The quorum is of 15 members. The Sergeant at Arms and Clerk are keeping tabs with the numbers of the members who are in the chambers, and once that number is achieved, then they will be alerting the Speaker to call the House to order, and the Cabinet Secretary will be invited into the chambers to respond to these questions by the honorable members. Standing Order 51C on responses to questions by the Cabinet Secretary, Part 2 indicates that a senator may, in writing, nominate another senator to ask a question on his or her behalf where the senator shall be absent on the day on which the question is listed. So in this case, we have been seeing a number of times that in case the senator has a question and he is or she is not around, then they usually nominate one of their own or a colleague to ask that question on their behalf. Where a senator is absent and has not nominated another senator to ask the question on his or her behalf, the question shall be dropped. So let's get back to the questions that the Cabinet Secretaries this morning will be responding to. Remember, 3 of them are set to appear. This is Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susanna Humicha, and Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, Professor Kithure Kindiki. The Honorable Senator for Tharaka Nithi, Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration whether there are plans by the national government to construct offices, deploy administrative officers, and provide necessary equipment to Chiakariga sub-county in Tharaka Nithi County, which was established in 2022, but remains non-functional, and if so, whether the Cabinet Secretary could provide timelines for the same. Well, allow me to hand you over to the live broadcast. The quorum has been achieved. Good morning.
Clerk, kindly call the first order, please.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, honorable senators, we expected 3 CSs this morning. However, the CS in charge of Interior and National Administration will not be with us this morning for purposes of responding to the questions by the Senator for Kisumu and also the senator for Meru, the senator for Turkana, the senator for Tana River. We have the presence of two CSs this morning. That is the CS in charge of defense and the CS in charge of health. So we will proceed with the question by the senator for Nairobi, and thereafter we will take the questions for the senator for Kisumu, and that touch on the Cabinet Secretary for Health. Clerk, can you confirm that the CS Defense is present? Now, honorable senators, I'm informed that the CS Defense is present in the House, and therefore we shall proceed with question number 28, which is being asked by the senator for Nairobi, Honorable Edwin Sifuna. Honorable CS, can welcome to the Senate. These are corridors that you're extremely familiar with. So I need not take time to explain to you how we go about conducting our business here. Welcome to
the Nairobi City County Government, and if not, could the Cabinet Secretary to the Nairobi City County Government, and if not, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a timeline for the same?
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable senators. And it's good to be back home. These corridors have been my home for 17 and a half years. So every time I come back to Parliament, I feel like